So just kind of touching base on what you just said as well, the units all are like a major thing. So, you have like unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, and then there's subsections, unit 1.1, 1.2, and so on.
That's exactly right. And you will see these are mapped to the units in the textbook as well, that's in Learn, Test, Pass. And what I also try to do on the introduction page for each one of these units, if you notice down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I've got for you, I try to always give you like the page numbers that we are covering in this particular section. Remember, we're going to do unit 1 in small pieces. So we're only going to be looking at unit 1.1 today. And the good news for that is it's only one rule. Look at that. One rule. This is the whole rule that we need to talk about. If at the end of today, you understand this rule, then we have accomplished our goal. That sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? I mean, it's only 11 o'clock in the morning and we got till
let's do it
this afternoon.
Maybe we'll get out early.
Maybe you will. I mean,
I think not.
It's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I guess anything is possible, but
if we put our mind to it,
the key thing to these rules is, folks, we don't get to make the rules. It's not our job to make the rules. It is the job of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission to write the rules, to make the rules. And our job is to know them and understand them. So you can memorize this rule if you want to. And for reference, you always have to remember the rule number. This is the statute number. And so on the test, you're going to be expected to know that this is General Statute 93A-2.
It sucks because they put it as the answer choices A, B, C, or D, but I will say flashcards really help me with this.
By the way, we're full of it. You don't have to memorize these. You don't have to memorize the statute. We put them in there just for references in case you want to go back to the specific rule. You don't have to remember them, but you do have to remember the content of these rules. And you have to, more importantly, know how to apply these rules to the situations that you're going to encounter in the real world, because that's going to be the real challenge. Can you take this rule, that the Real Estate Commission has given you about a particular thing, and can you apply it to a real world situation where Flo was about to quit? She's like, no, I'm not doing that. Can you take this rule and can you apply it to a real world situation and answer the question? So here's the question we're trying to answer. Who needs a license? Oops, sorry, do that. Which people?
Very simple, by the way.
That's right. Which people need a real estate license? And when we say a license, we are talking about a real estate license. This is a real estate class. We're not talking about a driver's license or a license to sell alcohol or anything like that. We're talking about a real estate license from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. A
person who wants to sell.
I'm sorry, what was that, Zeta?
Would it be a person who wants to sell?
Well, so Zeta said, would that be a person who wants to sell property? Maybe.
Or anything with money.
If you're doing it for other people.
Or maybe. And now Jessica is adding in if you're doing it for others. Look at that. There's lots of different moving pieces here. So here's what it says. It says a person and or a business. Notice that word right there. Persons and businesses who, for consideration, I'm going to highlight that in green. Oops. I think I'm going to highlight that in green. Apparently I'm not going to. I'm going to highlight consideration in green. Why do you think? What do you think consideration means if I'm going to highlight it in green?
Money.
Payment. So it says any person or business who is getting paid or is promised to be paid
Or gifting.
to perform real estate activities. So there's another part of the rule there. Oops. Oh, my computer is not cooperating. They are performing real estate activities. So that's another part of the rule, performing real estate activities. And then probably the most important part of the rule, for others. So here's what the rule says. It says if you are a person or if you are a company and you are being paid for performing a real estate related service for somebody else, then you must have a North Carolina real estate license. Simple enough. Or so we think. Let's find out. So y'all remember that poll everywhere thing that we introduced you to a few minutes ago? You don't have to put the Travis Everett 302 in anymore. All you need to do is open up that text message chain on your phone. And from now on, all you got to do is answer the questions A, B, C, D, whatever the answer choices are when they come up. So you don't need to
You
send
can
it.
actually pin conversations on the iPhone. So if you wanted to pin that to the top, that'd be a great thing to do. I know somebody else had emailed me and said that they had entered it in Travis space Everett space 302. It's all together.
All together.
To get it to work.
Yep. So now once you're enrolled, here's the question. Zamir does not have a real estate license and is purchasing his first home. Zamir decides he does not need a buyer's agent. Is it a violation of North Carolina real estate license law for him to be paid the $12,500 buyer's agent commission on the transaction? And here, two simple answer choices. Yes, this would be a violation of license law, or B, no, this would not be a violation of license law and is legal for Zamir, who does not have a real estate license, to be paid $12,500 as a buyer's agent in the transaction.
Wow.
I'll give you a chance to chime in your answer there. Got about 30 of you who haven't done it yet, ish. Well, we hadn't get answered in, folks. Remember, we use this to help verify attendance as well.
Sorry,
Give me
Travis
just
or
a
Seth,
second.
does it allow you only once to pick your answer? Like I'm trying to do it and it just gave me an answer. You can no longer respond to this activity.
Yeah, so it gives you one chance.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's it. And if you get it wrong, you failed the class. So,
Yes.
Sorry.
we're gonna no, not at all, not at all. So,
Hey,
folks,
Travis,
yes.
I have a question.
ahead.
Should we actually print that huge brochure booklet from the Real Estate Commission? You
Which-
sent a link.
Which huge brochure booklet? Are you talking about the questions and answers on, are you talking about the study guide thing?
No, it's, I think it says something about real estate licensing in North Carolina.
No, I would not recommend printing real estate licensing in North Carolina.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
That's not something. Okay, so look at this question. And we're going to work our way through to the answer. Okay. Zamir does not have a real estate license. He's purchasing his first home. They make a point of saying it's his first home. Zamir decides he does not need a buyer's agent. Is it a violation for him to be paid in this transaction, even though he doesn't have a real estate license?
No,
Yes,
No.
yes, because he got paid 12,500.
but he's doing it for himself,
No.
not for somebody else.
It is not a violation. It
It's
is
for
not.
others.
There is, and there you go. There's the key thing. We're going to back up a screen and we're going to look at that rule again. It says you need a license if you are being paid. Okay, well, he's being paid to perform a real estate service. Well, he's performing a real estate service. But look at the blue
For
highlight.
himself.
It says you only need a real estate license if you're doing it for who?
Others.
For others. And in our case here, who is Zamir working for?
Himself.
Himself.
Is working for himself. So folks, here's the truth. Every single one of you in this class right now, could you go out and represent yourself as your own buyer's agent and be paid a commission on a transaction today?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yes.
You absolutely can. How many of you show of hands feel like you already learned something this morning? Like you're just like right out of there you go. And folks, that is going to be tested.
Absolutely.
This idea of who needs a license is absolutely going to be tested. There's no doubt about it. And in fact, it's going to be tested repetitively over and over and over. So let's look at
And it just gets worse from here.
it does. It does. So, but look, Christina, we gotta start with the building blocks. Christina said she wished it was this easy. Yeah, maybe it is. Catherine has never been licensed in real estate nor taken any real estate classes. She offers to list her neighbor's home for sale and handle the entire transaction for free because the neighbor is a really good friend. Is this a violation of North Carolina real estate license law? So y'all go ahead and throw your answer in there.
Uh-oh. Remember, all three have to be occurring if it's going to be a requirement for a license.
Catherine has never been licensed in real estate nor taken.
So we go back to the rule, folks. We go back to the rule and let's talk about it. The rule says if Christina is performing a real estate service, well, she is, for somebody other than herself, she is, and being what? What's the third thing?
Paid.
Paid for it, she needs a license. Does she need a license here?
Yes.
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 Why?
Yes.
Those
But
of
she's
you
not
that
getting paid.
those
Yes,
Because
because
she's
she did
doing
it
it
for
for
somebody else.
others.
those it
No.
doesn't, it's not, but
All
you're
of them
hanging
have to
on
apply.
one piece. You
She's
can't
not-
hang on one piece. She can do anything she wants for others if she's not being what?
Paid.
Hey,
Paid.
if she's doing for free, she doesn't need a license.
Doing it for free, she does not need a license. This is perfectly allowable activity, folks. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Catherine doing this in this situation.
I do have a question.
Okay, go for it.
So if she does it for free and, tells her it's for free, what if her friend was like, well, what if can I give you some money because I appreciate you helping me out? Like if she offers to give her money.
Pearl. You're gonna be my friend today, aren't you, Pearl? Right out of the gate. I love it. Because here's what you just said to me, Pearl. If she's doing it for free, but she ain't doing it for free. That's what you just said to me, right? That's what you said. If she's doing it for free, but her friend gives her money, isn't that another way of saying she didn't do it for what?
Free.
For free.
Free.
I didn't know if her friend was like, no, I insist, take it. Like she has to legally say no.
She has to say no because she doesn't have a what?
A real
A
estate.
license.
A license.
Does not have a license. There you go.
Hey,
Does that
Travis.
help?
This is where we have to put a stop on the rabbit holes. You can just go with the question.
Okay.
Travis,
Yes.
for the respond on the text message, it actually says, yes, this is a clear violation of NC license.
Right.
And your answer here on the screen says, no, this is not a violation.
No, well, that's one of the answer choices. The first answer choice is yes, yes, this is a clear violation. The second answer choice is no, this is not a violation. And the correct one of the two is no, this is not a violation.
1 second, I'm gonna try something.
Okay.
Is it still active, Travis?
Yeah, it's still active. It doesn't,
Okay.
the phone doesn't give you the answers. Your phone just allows you to choose an answer.
Doesn't realize it's a poll and that most people got it wrong.
Yeah, right. Most people got it wrong. That's the problem. Your phone may show you what the most popular answer was. That doesn't mean that's the answer. The answer is the one
Right.
this is just a poll. It doesn't know which one is correct or not.
Got it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
For consideration, does that include gift cards and stuff as well?
What a wonderful question, Gabby. Yes, it does. Anything that has any monetary value whatsoever. Somebody gives you a goat because you listed their home for sale, that's consideration.
Okay.
Yep.
Even if that sort of information is not revealed publicly, I mean, I guess it's illegal, and who's going to catch you, kind of thing. What are the penalties for doing that?
We have to, so it's a great question, but what we're teaching you here is how to pass the exam.
Right.
And this will be
No
taught to
worries.
you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do
No,
that.
No, you were
No,
good.
Praveen, it's a very natural question to ask, like, what are the penalties? So just so
How
you
would we
don't
find
get
it?
wrong, execution by firing squad is the most common penalty for doing this. So don't,
Sounds reasonable. Yeah.
no, we're going to talk about that. The Real Estate Commission is actually relatively limited right here. Because guess what? The Real Estate Commission only has jurisdiction over people who have a what?
A license.
A license. So actually, the Real Estate Commission could not do anything to answer your question here. But what the Real Estate Commission would most likely do is report that a crime has taken place, because practicing real estate without a license is a crime in North Carolina. So what the Real Estate Commission would most likely do, because they couldn't discipline Catherine, who doesn't have a real estate license, even if she violated license law. She didn't in this case, but if she had, they couldn't do anything with her anyway because she didn't have a license. What they could do, though, is call the district attorney in her county and say, hey, we just noticed somebody's practicing real estate without a license, which is a crime in North Carolina. It's a misdemeanor, and it would be up to the district attorney whether or not they actually prosecute that crime. So it would be sort of the same thing as if you saw somebody, jaywalking. That's a crime, right? And you could call the police or call the district attorney, and then it would be up to them whether or not they actually enforce that. So it's a fair question. Okay. All right, one more. Let me activate this one real quickly. You can't answer until I activate it. So let's talk about Bob here for a second. It says Bob owns an apartment complex and informs all of his current residents that he will give anyone who brings him a new tenant 1 free month of rent. Is this allowable in North Carolina license law? So Bob owns an apartment complex and he informs all of his current residents he'll give anybody who brings him a new tenant 1 free month of rent. Is this allowed in North Carolina license law? So he's telling, basically, let's say he's got 50 tenants in the building, and he says to all 50 of them, hey, bring your friend by, and if your friend rents an apartment, then we'll give you a free month of rent for helping us out, helping us find a new tenant. Is this allowed, or is this a violation of license law? Don't try to answer from your gut, because folks, if you're trying to answer from your gut, you're flipping a coin. Apply the rule. Go through
the burrito from earlier.
Ask yourself the rule. What does the rule say? Am I applying those 3 things to the rule? And go from there. So let's talk about this one for a second. Let's talk about the rule.
You got to kind of put yourself into perspective with this one, because it mentions several people.
So let's talk about it. They want to know if Bob is okay in offering all of his current tenants a free month of rent simply because they bring somebody else. And Alyssa, it is Bob's property, but Bob's not the only part of this transaction.
Right.
Who's paying, folks?
The tenant
is paying somebody
Bob
else.
A license here. He's paying. It's about, do the people he's paying need a license? So let's talk about the people he's giving.
That's what I mean as well. When you say, let's talk about the people, you have to put yourself in those people's perspective. Yes, it starts out with Bob, but we're not looking from his perspective.
Let's be clear. You never need a license to pay money. You need a license to get paid money. Does Bob need to be licensed here?
No.
No. Because Bob is paying money out. You don't need a license to pay money out. You need a license to get paid. So let's talk about his tenants. Bob's tenants.
Pretend you're one of his tenants.
Number 1, Are they performing a real estate service by bringing a friend and introducing them to Bob?
Yes.
Referrals.
Yes.
Yes. So this is yes for a real estate service. Okay. Are they being compensated?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are being compensated with a free month of rent.
Right.
And are they being paid for bringing themselves, or are they being paid for bringing others along?
Others.
Others.
And if those all three are, yes, I am doing a real estate service, yes, I am being compensated, and yes, I am bringing others, do those tenants need a real estate license?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And
And you know,
this would clearly be a violation of license law.
absolutely. I'm harping on what you just said. It's about who's getting paid. So whenever you get all these different people in this word problem, look for who's getting paid, then apply that rule to them.
That's exactly right. It's
I have
exactly
a question though.
sure.
If, because you see like apartment complexes offer discounts or half a month's rent off and stuff like that at time of move-in, does that not apply or not fall under the same umbrella?
Who are they offering the discounted rent or the free rent to?
A new tenant or the potential tenant?
So they're offering it to the person that's moving in. Is that person representing themselves, or are they representing somebody else?
Themselves.
Themselves.
They're
This
representing.
actually just happened to me,
So
and I
they-
didn't even realize that.
They,
It was pertaining to this.
they don't.
I have a question.
Yes.
So Bob doesn't need a license. So can we get a question in the test from Bob's perspective, or that would never happen?
It'll never happen. It's a great question, Brian, but it'll never happen because Bob is the one paying money out. There is no circumstance on this planet in which Bob needs a license here.
Okay.
Bob-
So they wouldn't trick you like that on the test?
They don't consider that tricky. If you consider that tricky, it's because you're just now being introduced to license law. License law doesn't care about the people paying. License law cares about who is being paid. Because if you go back and look at that rule, does the rule mention anything about paying somebody for real estate services?
No.
No, it says if you're being paid. So we're never, ever, that's just in your brain, you're going to say, I'm never looking at it from the perspective of the person who's paying. I'm looking at it from the perspective of which person?
Receiving.
The one who's receiving. And if nobody's receiving money, then what's the answer going to be?
It's not a violation.
It's not a violation, doesn't need a license. If somebody's receiving money for themselves, what's the answer going to be?
It is.
Yes.
No license.
Yeah, for themselves. What is the answer going to be?
It's not a
You
violation.
don't need no license.
Don't need a license. I love that. You don't need no license. I love it, right? But if they are being paid, if they are receiving money for a service that they did for somebody other than themselves, they need a what?
License.
They need a license.
They need a license. That is the license law rule. That is the basic rule.
I have
that
a
we apply.
question.
Okay, go ahead, Dimana. Is it Dimana?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's Dimana, yeah. So if you're helping with just staging and you receive a gift card, that's considered you need a license, right?
Is staging a real estate activity?
No.
Oh, it's
What
not.
is staging?
Well, so staging is going into real estate and placing things in a manner that will be pleasing to people who are looking to buy real estate. Is that a real estate activity, folks?
It sounds
Yes.
like it.
Yes, it is. See, this is the problem we have with license law. Let me tell you why you're having a problem with this, if you're having a problem with it. You came into this class with an idea of what you had to have a license for, and you're trying to make the rule fit your preconception. It doesn't work that way. How many of you have driven on the Beltline around Raleigh, I-440 before? Okay. If they took all the speed limit signs down, if they just took them down, would you be able to tell me what the speed limit is based on observing everybody's driving habits? In other words, would you be able to say, oh, the speed limit there is 55 because everybody's driving 55? Would you?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
'cause I'm going 80.
No, because how fast do people go on the Beltline?
Very
Like
fast.
95,
Even though the speed limit is what?
55, which is too
55.
slow.
Folks, when you're getting a test question in this class, are you being asked how fast are the people on the Beltline driving, or are you being asked what does the speed limit sign say? What are they asking you?
What does the speed?
What does the
Yeah,
speed
the
limit
second.
sign say?
What does the
What's
sign
rule?
say? And so you all have to stop applying what you thought your perception was, because I guarantee you, and I'm not picking on Damana here. Damana probably does staging, or she knows somebody that does staging. And in their mind, they think, oh, there's no way I'm violating the law. Are they violating the law if they're staging houses without a real estate license and being paid for it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
I have a question.
Yes.
Me too. Okay, so I got the answer correct. However, I looked at it from a different perspective. So I just want to see why I looked at it from that way and why it was wrong. I said that Bob basically owns a business and he's getting paid for it. So all of his tenants are paying him monthly, basically. And he was performing real estate activities for others by giving them somewhere to live once they rent from him. So I said, yes, it would be illegal for him to do these things without a license. So I guess the right answer, but I guess I wasn't seeing it from.
You're definitely not looking at it from the correct perspective, because we're not even asking about if Bob needs to be licensed. The person who's paying, it's never asking about them.
Okay.
It's asking about the people who are being paid. Who's being paid here?
The tenant.
The tenant.
The tenant. Those are the people we're asking about. We don't care about Bob. It's not about Bob.
Okay.
We really like analogies in this class, but I don't want to do one just yet because we're just getting started, but it'll make more sense as we go.
Yeah.
It's all about the
Somebody
money.
else had a question. I know, right?
Whoever said that, it is about the money. Follow the money.
Yeah, all about the money.
Follow the money.
Absolutely.
Because the
Somebody
license.
else had a question.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, I had a question, but I think we're going to cover it in the next section, so I'll wait.
Okay. All right.
It was about being
Jennifer.
about the staging and like the taking pictures and stuff, but as far as
I'll
being,
ask
like, a
for you. I
W-2
see it right
employee.
here.
Yeah.
Do you need a license to take pictures for an MLS listing?
If you're being paid.
Is that a real estate activity?
Yes.
Yes. Are you being compensated for it?
Yes.
Yes.
If somebody's being compensated for it and they're taking pictures of a home that's not theirs, that's a real estate activity. That requires a license, folks. Now, folks, are there going to be a bazillion people violating these rules?
Every day.
Oh, absolutely. Every day, every minute.
Every day, all day. I mean, here's the funny thing. People struggle with this in this class, but you don't struggle with it in real life. Watch this question. Is it illegal to smoke pot in North Carolina?
Yes.
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 So clearly nobody does it, right? Nobody.
No,
Right.
nobody does it.
Nobody
No.
does
What the
that
hell?
because it's illegal. It just doesn't happen. We all are very law-abiding citizens. It doesn't happen.
Right.
Come on,
Exactly.
right? Just because something is illegal does not mean it doesn't happen. And that's the gear you're going to have to shift in your brain. That's what we're trying to force you to. On the test, you're not being asked what happens in the wild out there. You're being asked, what does the rule say? So here, when you ask me that question, I'm not saying that I expect everybody who takes pictures of, did I say that I expect everybody who takes pictures of a house to have a real estate license?
No.
But you asked me if the real estate commission would say they should have a license. And what's the answer to that question?
Yes.
Unless if they're a W-2 employee, then they don't have
Well,
to have.
and then we're going to talk about some potential, exceptions.
Almost there.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're
It's
fine.
okay.
And so, but that's the mindset. And that's why this rule is such an important one on day one, is to retrain your brain into what you're being asked. You're not being asked practical questions. You're being asked to apply the rule to a situation and then answer as if you work for the real estate commission. Put yourself in their shoes and apply their rules and see what the answer come up with.
You need a license.
That's right. That's what they would say. You need to have a license. Because of course, they want to tell as many people that they need to have a license as they possibly can, because everybody who has a license has to do what for that license?
And I pay.
Take
the test.
Hey, baby. If you work for the real estate commission, you want as many people to have a real estate. You know how many people have a real estate license in North Carolina? You're about to pass out.
A lot.
I always forget.
So many.
110,000.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow. Wow.
110,000 real estate licenses in the state of North Carolina.
I'm
Crazy.
Hey,
sorry,
Travis.
is that high, low? I'm so out of it.
I think it'd be a lot.
It's a lot when you consider the population of the state's about 9 million. I mean, it really is. What it ultimately means is that about 2% of everybody who lives in the state has a real estate license.
Wow.
Hey, Travis, I have a question.
Yes.
So for example, when I sold my home this summer, I hired a stager. If my stager did not have a license, and let's say the buyer of the property decided they wanted out of that contract, could they use that to pretty much void the contract because I used someone that was unlicensed?
Absolutely not. Because contracts are sacred. Contracts are, but that person, that stager has nothing to do with the contract between the buyer and the seller. That's between the buyer and the seller. And so there's no relief from a contract because somebody has used licensed or unlicensed people. There's only potentially penalties for the person who was acting in a manner that they needed to have a real estate license, but they didn't. So think of it this way. Again, this is going to help you as you go discipline yourself. If there's an accident on the highway and two people are involved, and one is driving with a license and the other is driving without a license, are we going to hold the person who's driving with a license responsible for the fact that they were involved in an accident with somebody who didn't have a driver's license? Or are we going to hold that person responsible for knowingly driving without a license when they needed one?
The one with the license?
What do y'all think?
I'm sorry.
The one without the license.
The one
because
Person
you
without
shouldn't be
the
on-
license, it should be on the hook, but I mean,
And now listen, does that mean we don't give the other person a ticket if they were at fault? Does the other person who had a driver's license get completely off scot-free just
No.
because they were involved?
No.
In an accident? No. So folks, it's the same exact thing here. People don't get relief from these transactions because they've dealt with an unlicensed person. It just means the unlicensed person is violating a law. It's completely separate. Completely separate. Okay, it's a good question, but you got to get things compartmentalized because one doesn't bleed over into the other, So
this is still just one rule that we have covered so far.
And we haven't even begun to cover this rule yet. We got it. And there's much more depth to this rule. So
Absolutely.
A real estate license is a license to be what? It's not really a license to do real estate activities because you can do real estate activities and not be licensed. What is a real estate license really for? What is it really for? What is the key thing?
To get performing.
Allow you to get paid legally.
To get paid by other people. When you get paid for working for yourself, you're not really getting paid. It's really a license to be paid, to do it as a profession, to do it for others. Think of it this way. If you want to cut your own hair and you want to give yourself a $50 tip, do you need a cosmetology license for that?
No.
No. I was thinking this example.
Right? If you want to stand there and go on YouTube, did y'all have to do this during the early part of the pandemic? Y'all remember this, trying to learn how to cut each other's hair? That was, woo. That was, I'm telling you, man, we were some rough looking folks. But you don't need a license to cut your own hair. You don't even need a license to cut your friend's hair, but you need a license if you cut your friend's hair and you get what? Paid. Same thing is true here. You don't need a license to sell real estate. You don't need a license to pay yourself for selling your own real estate. You need a license to get paid for helping somebody else sell real estate. You need a license to get paid for helping somebody else rent real estate. You need a license to get paid for helping other people. Does that help when we kind of put it in those terms?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes. And that's what the licensure requirement is. Now, what you all seek to find is what you see at the bottom right corner over there of this slide. This is what a real estate license looks like in North Carolina.
I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. I didn't expect that to panic you so much. Maybe he just realized he
I'm back.
He wants to show his.
He found his original. He found the fancy. We can't see
I
it.
framed it and everything.
We can't see it.
Can you see it now?
Up and closer.
You're gonna have to.
Can you see it now?
I can only see it if you're talking.
Oh, it's okay. It's just in a frame.
Oh,
I kept it.
There you go. I spotlighted you. You can hold it up again now.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Behind the green screen.
There we go.
There you go. I have no idea where mine is. Mine is on mine is probably on like a granite scroll somewhere. They didn't have paper when I got mine.
I considered getting rid of it, but I was like, no, this has got me a lot. I'm gonna keep it.
So I have a question about just the real estate license. I was in the car business and had salesman license. We had to renew ours every single year. Do you have to renew your real estate license every single year?
What do you think?
Yeah, haha. Just kidding. I can read that, I promise.
Absolutely.
What does type B mean?
B, broker.
Got it.
It means I'm a broker. It's exactly what it means. And my license number is 249176. I'm a broker, and my license expires on June 30th of 2022. That's when I need to renew it. Notice though on this slide, something I want to point out to you, it's going to be really important. It says person or company. Folks, if we create a real estate company, we apply the exact same rule. If we create a company and that company is going to represent other people and that company is going to be paid, then that company also needs to have what?
Firm license.
A license.
Firm license, a real estate license.
That's exactly right. And so
I'm kind of relating that to that hair example too. You know, a hairdresser opens a company, they might have to have some kind of.
They might have to have a shop license versus the cosmetologist license, right?
Right.
So in North Carolina, in real estate, the person is required to have a broker's license. A person, any person who is providing real estate services for others and being what?
Paid.
Compensated, needs to have a broker's license in North Carolina.
Travis, I have a question.
Yes.
So let's say I have a real estate license myself, and for example, if can I help my spouse or help him to get a house? Is it considered like legal or like any kind of activity?
You haven't given me enough so far. The answer is no, because you haven't said anything at all about being what? Paid. So would you like to rephrase your question? Because I mean, right now your question is easy to answer. You didn't say anything about being paid, so you definitely don't need a license.
So I can still get compensation or that I am able to sell the house to my spouse. So
now you've asked a different question. Can you help your spouse purchase a property and get paid a commission for that without a real estate license in North Carolina? Is that your question?
with a real estate, not without, with a real estate.
Of course you
license.
can with a real estate license, because with a real estate license, you can help anybody.
Okay, so that shouldn't be illegal or some sort. I'm helping someone.
Sharon, there's a reason I'm trying to redirect your question, because you're flailing away out in the abyss. You're like floating in the outer space. You're allowing the question to run you versus you running the question. Your question is not, do you need, can you represent your spouse if you have a real estate license? Of course you can. Of course you can. The real question is, can you represent your spouse and be paid if you don't have a real estate license? Folks, is your spouse someone other than you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And therefore, the answer is you need a real estate license to represent your spouse. Now, here's what would change that. If you were buying with your spouse, if you were part of the transaction, could you be paid in that transaction? Because at that point, you're not just representing somebody other than yourself. You're also representing who?
Yes.
Yourself.
Yourself. So could you do that? Could Sharon and her husband together buy a property and Sharon be paid the commission without needing a real estate license?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Could Sharon's husband by himself be purchasing a property and Sharon represent him and be paid without a real estate license?
No.
No.
Nope.
No.
There's the difference, whether or not Sharon is part of the transaction. Does that help, Sharon?
Yes. Yes, it does a little bit.
I know. Philo has a question. A license to rent a building and offer your firm there. And I can't remember what it is, but there's something in the state of North Carolina. Do you know, Travis?
What was the question? I missed the question. You broke up for a second.
Like, so salons have to get an establishment license. She was wondering, do firms have to get that as well to like rent a building and offer your firm there?
Well, we haven't talked about a firm license
Would
yet.
it just
Hold off on firm
Gotcha.
questions yet. I mean, we're still talking about broker licenses. I mean, we have to migrate over into firm licenses. And a firm, folks, is not a complex idea. These questions that you're inventing for yourself, you're really making it harder for yourself. They can't make this test question hard. You can make it hard.
I got a question.
Sharon just did it to herself. She made it hard. It's a simple question. Go ahead.
I'm incorporated. When I go to take the test, am I taking out the license as myself, as the incorporation?
You're not the corporation. You're not incorporated. You are a human being with a pulse and breath.
Employed by the corporation.
The corporation is separate from you. If you're going to be the corporation, then there was no need for you to create a corporation. What's the whole point of creating a company, folks? And this is your first lesson in corporate law. What's the whole reason you create a company? You don't want the business to be who? You want to be separate from the business. If you didn't want to be separate from the business, you would never incorporate. You would never create a company.
Yeah.
And so, Eddie,
Hello.
I
Did you have a
appreciate.
question?
Let me finish with Eddie's here, though, because Eddie, as long as you think about it wrong, Eddie, you're going to miss every single one of those questions. Eddie, you're not the company. Eddie, you're not the company. Eddie, you're not the company. You're not.
You're employed by the company.
So now, Eddie, answer your own question. When you go take the license, which one are you trying to get?
Myself.
Which one is it? Name it. What kind of license?
Broker license.
Broker license. There you go. There you go. That's what you have to do. You have to put yourself back on the rails. You're going to hear me screaming at you when you take this test. It's what I do. And I do it because you all make it more difficult for yourselves. The rules are relatively straightforward. You somehow think that your situation is unique. It's not. It's not. Flo, you had a question?
Screaming works.
It does.
I think I kind of like answered it in my
thought process. I was gonna ask if this is like, if this ranges from state to state, but I figured this is nationally.
Section 1, Unit 1, North Carolina license law.
Okay.
North Carolina. It applies in where?
North Carolina.
North
Carolina.
Carolina. This is all North Carolina specific.
It applies
We
to
have to do
Iowa.
that.
Okay, so that means that, because the reason why I'm saying this is because my brother who lives in Florida is also going to pursue this. And I was just going to say, look, guys, what I learned today, you could sell real estate, you know,
Everything
and
has different rules. There you go.
Right.
Yeah, this
Right.
is very North Carolina specific.
Very different.
And this is why people struggle with the state specific portion of the exam most, because they start to look at, well, my cousin who got a real estate license in Ohio, we don't give a shit. We don't care. We don't care.
Truthfully.
Folks, I mean, I'm gonna go back to this example 100 times. Pot is legal in Colorado. Go buy it all you want to. Bring it back to North Carolina and see what happens to your ass. Go bring it. Bring it. And when you get pulled over, you tell that state trooper, oh, but it's legal in Colorado, and see how far that gets you.
So you don't, Travis, so you don't need to live in North Carolina to have a North Carolina license. You could sell real estate in North Carolina as long as you have a North Carolina license.
That is correct. We don't care where the person is. We care where the real estate is located. Anybody who wants to help people with real estate services where the real estate is located in North Carolina and be compensated for it needs to have a North Carolina real estate license. So could somebody very well live in Nevada and need a North Carolina real estate license?
If they're practicing real estate here.
If the real estate that they're helping people with is located in North Carolina, they need a North Carolina real estate license. Flo, does that help you with the differentiation? Everything we're talking about here in Unit 1 is North Carolina specific.
Yes, and my apologies.
No, you're fine. It needed to be asked. It absolutely.
Somebody's got to ask.
Right. Somebody's got to ask it. And I'm glad you asked it because we need to be rattled home. What we're talking about here in this Unit 1 is very specific. This is North Carolina license law. It only applies here.
Right. 9 times out of 10, somebody else is thinking it, like Shanice said.
Of course they are. So any person who wishes to provide a real estate service in North Carolina, any person who wishes to provide a real estate service in North Carolina and be compensated for it on real estate that is located in the state of North Carolina needs a broker's license. Now we've added that terminology to it. A person, and if you notice, it was Mark that asked me this question. What does that B mean on my license? It means I am a what?
Broker.
A broker, which just means I'm a human. It means this is a
human
license
being.
issued to a human. That's it. That's all that B means. Okay, that's it. That's all. It's a license issued to a human. There are licenses that look just like this that don't have a person's name on them. A license that looks just like this that has a company's name on it is called a what kind of license there, folks?
Firm license.
Firm license.
Firm license. So when you look at that license, the only thing that would be different on it, it would say type what?
F.
F. That's exactly right. That would be literally be the only difference. It would say type F, firm. That's it. So here's a question. Test question alert. Do firm licenses expire?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
They want your money.
They want your money. And so the firm license looks exactly like the person's license does. Person's license got an expiration date on it. Firm's license is going to have an expiration date on it as well.
Jennifer over here testing us.
So Jennifer said, I've heard the North Carolina test is harder than most other states. True or false? False.
True.
The North Carolina test is harder than all other states combined and multiplied by 10. And it's not close. It's
That's
not.
what I've heard.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Why is it?
There was a lull
very
over the
hard.
crowd.
It is by far the hardest state to obtain a real estate license.
But if it was easy, everybody would do it. So
Well, Flo, I don't know the answer to that question. I just know that statistically, we know that's true because the national section of the exam is consistent across a lot of states. A lot of states use the same national section, and our students always outperform every other state, even though we have the lowest license issuance rate in the country. And the reason we have the lowest license issuance rate is they don't fail the national section. Guess what section they fail?
North Carolina.
The state.
The state section, Unit 1. And that's why we
that is hell on earth.
That's why we start with it. This is super nitpicky. That's why we have to beat it into you. We really do.
Yeah, it sucks.
So companies do not need a broker's license. Companies are going to get a firm license. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But let's talk about the brokers first. Let's talk about the requirements to become a real estate broker in
Travis?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that the firms are what hires the brokers?
That is absolutely fair to say in most cases. Brokers don't have to work for a firm, but most brokers do ultimately work for a firm. A firm is just a company that has decided to offer real estate services. And obviously somebody has to do the work. So who's going to do the work for a firm? Who's going to actually do the work of dealing with the people?
The brokers.
The brokers that work for the firm. That's exactly right, Julie. Exactly.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, Josh, go ahead.
So I thought it was like you'd be a real estate agent and then you could be a real estate broker. So I thought like to be a real estate agent, like exactly what we're doing now, but to be a broker, like you over the company and you have real estate agents up under you.
That is other states, not North Carolina.
Can only be a broker in North Carolina.
North Carolina only has brokers. We are an all broker state.
But that's a big, right?
A broker in charge. Yeah.
Not a big.
So how can you have a team up under you?
A broker is simply a person with a real estate license. Do not allow your brain to swim. A broker is simply a person with a real estate license. Now, someone who supervises other brokers, we will simply tack the in charge at the end of it. So Steph is a real estate broker. Travis is also a real estate broker.
So there's only one license for everyone, basically.
No. Everybody's licensed. Seth has a real estate license. Travis has a real estate license.
That's what I'm saying. Is everybody has a broker license.
Okay, right. Yeah,
there's no like a separate license for a company. It's all brokers.
Well, there is a separate license for companies called what?
The firm.
The company is not a human. The company needs a firm license. Right. But the humans are broker license.
So essentially there's only two types, correct? Which is a broker's license and or either a firm license, correct?
Bingo, you got it. You got it.
So to be a broker in charge, what do you got to do for that?
You are 12 sections ahead of us because you ain't even learned what it takes to be a broker yet.
Okay.
The whole section.
You are way ahead of us because ultimately somebody will have to be in charge of Travis and Seth. Who do you think's in charge between the two of them?
You.
Travis is. Okay? But I'm still a broker. I just happen to be the broker that is what?
In charge
and in charge
of our group. That's all it is. But Seth has exactly, make no mistake, does Seth have exactly the same real estate license that Travis does?
Yes.
Yes. Because
I could actually be your Bic tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
I'm not joking.
He's not kidding. He's not kidding. Tomorrow, if we decided we wanted to change the structure of our business and we wanted to have Seth be the one who is what?
In charge.
We would literally just tell the real estate commission, Travis is no longer in charge. Travis is just a broker now. And Seth is the broker who is what?
In charge.
In charge.
Spend all the money.
It's just like all you're telling the real estate commission is who's supervising. That's it. That's all. But it's the same license. We are equals. Does that make sense for everybody?
I think some of the
Broker
confusion comes
license.
from the term agent because people always hear real estate agent.
Right. So agent is a universal term. Agent means the same thing as licensee. There is no differentiation. Now, in some states, in fact, in the vast majority of states, there are different licenses. There are salespersons and brokers. And in those states, the broker is the one who does the supervision. But North Carolina requires everybody to get to that broker level. We require a higher expectation of people. So we require everyone. So as Seth just put in the chat, in North Carolina, a human who has a real estate license is a what?
Broker.
A broker.
Broker. There you go. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
And it may be a little ahead of where we're going, but if you are looking to have a firm license, do you have to be to have that firm
First
license?
of all, it is very ahead of where we're asking. Second of all, the way you ask it, I have to interrupt you, Lanisha. You can't have a firm license. Stop doing that to yourself. You're sabotaging yourself. You are a what?
Human being.
Person. You can only hope to have a broker's license. Now, here, I know what you're trying to ask, Lanisha, but I have to stop you because you got to retrain your brain. Here's the question you mean to ask. If you want to own a company that has a firm license, isn't that a better way of asking that question, folks?
Yes. Yes.
Because you, as a person, cannot have a firm license. Your what can have a firm license?
Company.
Your company.
Your company can have a firm license. So the first thing you got to do is start a what?
LLC.
Company.
You got to start a company. If the desire is to have a firm license, then there has to be a company to have a firm license, because firm licenses are only issued to what?
Companies.
Does that help, Lanisha?
It does.
Okay.
The second part of that question would be, when you have that company, in order to operate it, do you have to be the broker in charge?
And
how does that work?
And I'm going to defer and answer that question later because it's significantly ahead of it. It gets into the requirements for being a broker in charge, which is well out ahead of us at this point. Okay.
So,
Great
so
question. We're gonna answer it later.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Vasti.
So we have, my husband and I have a company, it's an LLC, which is basically pertains to an LLC firm. Sorry, I get so nervous when I speak. But
You should be nervous.
I'm
just trying to take it off you.
So that essentially that would be the same thing as, because we have a license to be able to use our LLC. Essentially, it's the same thing, right?
Well, no, you have a license for the LLC to operate, but you don't have a license for the LLC to operate as a real estate company. That requires a what from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission?
A license.
A firm license. If you want that LLC to participate in real estate activities and be paid for real estate activities, then the LLC needs to obtain a firm license. And that is the clear line that you all need to start to draw in your head, right? Is if it's a person, it gets a what kind of license?
Broker license.
Broker license. If it's a company, it gets a
firm license.
Firm. Okay. So, like, for example, Travis Everette is a person. What kind of license does he have?
Broker.
Broker license. Trav Talks Real Estate is a company that engages in the business of real estate. What kind of license does it have?
Firm.
So if you're keeping count, how many licenses are involved right there?
Two.
For me to operate the way I operate, which is people hire my company, and then I provide the work for my company, there's actually two licenses involved. I have to be personally licensed as a broker, and the company has to have a firm license. Is that starting to resonate just a little bit with you?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get at earlier, and I might have not asked correctly. So I have to first take out my broker's license before I can license my company?
That is correct,
Yes.
because the company cannot obtain a license. Because of here's the natural first question the real estate commission is going to have. Who's going to do the work for this company? Because somebody has to have a broker's license to do the real estate related work that this company is going to do. Can we all agree that Trav Talks Real Estate can't represent clients unless there are people doing the work?
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
That makes sense.
And those people must have what?
Broker license.
Broker license.
Broker's license. So step one is always get the people with a broker license.
Broker license. We're not at the point of artificial intelligence like that yet.
Not quite. Not quite. Okay. So
Travis, I have a question on that. So let's say for the LLC, right? For example, me and my spouse, only either of us can have the broker license, and that should be all? Or is it like both of us need it? I don't think both of us
it
need
depends. Are both of you going to, you're making it hard on yourself, Sharon. Are both of you going to be providing real estate services as a person?
Oh, no. So only one person can have
Then
it?
that's the one person that
Okay.
needs to have the
Okay.
real estate license. Okay. You know, it really is no harder than that. They're not all these shady little complexities to these rules. They are very straightforward.
Travis, I had a question. This specific slide here just sort of kind of doesn't glance over it or doesn't really talk about it. But what if I'm a broker or a licensed broker or firm for the state of North Carolina, but I'm not in the continental United States? It seems like over here it says that you can be in Nevada or and things like that, but don't say what if you're in the UK or China, for example.
Well, you can physically be in those places, but you would have to have a legal status in the United States in order to be licensed as a broker. So like, for example, a US citizen living abroad can still obtain a North Carolina real estate.
Yeah.
But someone who does not have a legal work status in the United States cannot obtain a North Carolina real estate license, regardless of their location. Even if they happen to be here, but they don't have legal status here, they are not eligible to obtain a North Carolina real estate license.
Thanks.
Okay, so it's all about the status, and the statuses that they accept are citizenship, permanent residence, work visas that are still valid, or any other current legal status.
My example was really, so say you were traveling and you needed to help somebody, or
you still can, absolutely, as long as you still have the legal status here in the United States. So for example, me as a US citizen, I could be traveling in the world and still render services here with my North Carolina real estate license. Okay. Okay.
So Travis, I have a question.
Okay.
So yes, you get a broker's license, but just like Eddie was talking about, he is an LLC.
He's not an LLC. He's not.
So it's got to be more than him before he can get a firm license, right?
He has nothing to do. You need to break that tie. He's not the company. Creating a company is like birthing a child, except the child you just birthed doesn't have a pulse. They're a company. Stop saying I'm the company. You're not. It has a separate taxpayer identification number. It's just like a separate social security number. It is a legally separate entity. He is not a company. He owns a company, and those are two different things.
Okay.
Got it. And that's what you have to do. Okay. So
I have a quick question as well. I think I pretty much know the answer, but like to tack on to that, all that we've been talking about, I've noticed a lot of agents or brokers now are using, I don't even know what they're called, but they hire people to go and do showings for them. So legally, because that person is doing a real estate activity, like showing the homes, by law, they're also required to have the license, correct?
Are they being compensated?
Yes.
Yes.
What does it sound like to you?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. And here's what you need to understand about that, Kiana. It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, both sides are violating license law. the ones who are being paid illegally and the ones who are paying them, because the ones who are paying them have a license. And shouldn't you know this rule if you have a license?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So could that agent who's hiring somebody to go show houses for them lose their license with the North Carolina Real Estate Commission for that activity?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
As a matter of fact, the person that sold me the house I'm currently in, that's exactly what they did. They had somebody do all the showings because he is located in Charlotte, and that person did not have a real estate license.
here's what I'm going to do for you right now, Eddie. And I want you to do this at lunch. Okay. You can do me a favor? You promise?
Sure.
Being for real.
I'm being for real. At your lunch, Eddie, you're going to go to ncrec.gov and you're going to scroll down to the bottom of that page right there. And you're going to click that button. And if you want to, we'll do it as a class activity. We'll do it together because that should not happen.
Field trip.
That should not happen.
So why are brokers doing that? Is it because it just makes it easier for them, or?
Of course it does. Of course.
They lazy.
Why do people always break the law? Because it's easier to break the law than it is to follow the law. And unfortunately, the only way it gets fixed is if people file a complaint. Because the real estate commission doesn't know what's happening unless you file a complaint.
Are they anonymous?
They can be. They can be. They allow you to file it anonymously if you'd like.
I mean, is it better to have one of you or two of you?
What do you mean?
Well, that's what these other realtors are thinking. You know, if I can get more people to look at more houses.
Sure. Right. If I can have all these people go show houses for me, I don't have to do it. And so I can.
And then get compensated for it. Heck.
But
Catch
it's
license me if you can.
Very illegal. So we need to talk about in detail what real estate activities really are defined as. Listing a property for sale. Okay. Seth, to your question in the chat. Yes. Sorry. I just saw it. You're fine. Okay. Listing property for sale, helping somebody sell or buy real estate, helping someone lease real estate, auctioning real estate, or referring somebody in a real estate transaction, even just referring them, saying, hey, you should use Seth. He's really great. That is a real estate activity. Now, you don't need a license to refer Seth, but you need a license to be what?
Compensated
for
a goat, a boat, a gift card.
Right.
Does not matter.
No, you ran out of things to rhyme. Goat and boat. That was pretty much it. I don't. A tote. You know, you could do that.
Yeah, that would be for Leslie.
Even your children's.
Exactly.
And I asked this in the chat, but Jessica was really sweet to respond to that, but it has to be within that state, right? Because I said, can I refer somebody in another state since I'm not licensed in that state? I feel like I know you're going to tell me I'm answering my question already, but I'm not licensed, so I'm referring over there, but I'm licensed in North Carolina.
So where do you need to check?
That's license.
You need to check in that state's license law because I don't know what their license law is.
And were you compensated?
And here's what I will guarantee you. That state does not care that you have a North Carolina license. That's not going to factor into things at all. So
what about reciprocity?
Well, that again, reciprocity doesn't mean you automatically have a license in another state. If a state has reciprocity, that means they allow you to obtain their license by simply paying a fee, but you still got to do what? There is no circumstance on this planet where just because you have a real estate license in one state, you can do real estate in other states. That does not exist. It is not like your driver's license. You do not leave the boundaries of the state where you are licensed in. So if you want to refer somebody in California and you want to know what the requirements are for you to be paid a referral fee, what state had you better be checking with?
California.
That's going to determine whether or not you can receive that referral fee. Just like now, somebody who's licensed in California, can they be paid a referral fee in the state of North Carolina? That is determined by our laws because the transaction is where?
North
Carolina. In North Carolina. And so that's what you have to learn. It's where the real estate is located. not where the person is located. Now, what licensure the person has, it's where the real estate is located. So if you are providing this real estate service for yourself, no license required. If you are working for others but not receiving compensation, yet again, no license is required. But if you're working for others and receiving compensation, that's when you're going to have licensure in North Carolina. That's the point in time in which we require you to have licensure. And that's what we're focused on. Now, this question came up earlier, and I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly who asked it, so I apologize. But somebody asked, what if it was just a gift card? I think it might have been Gabby, maybe. I'm guessing there. But somebody asked, what if it was just a gift card? What if it was just something insignificant? Does that have value, folks?
Yes.
Yes. It
Yes.
does. It does.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's just one time. It doesn't matter if it's just one transaction. If you're reading the letter of the law in North Carolina, you just apply those three things. And if they're receiving compensation for a real estate service that they're providing for other people, it requires a license. And so this is where I introduce the way I like to think of it when I get questions on a test, because you will see quite a few of these questions on the test. Is I think of it like a three-leg stool. I visualize the stool, and I'm thinking about the stool from the perspective of, okay, what's happening here? Are all three of these things that are part of the rule happening? Because if they are, then I'm going to need to have a license for this to happen. If one of these is missing, what do you think about licensure? What's the answer going to be if one of these is missing?
License. You don't need a license.
No.
That's exactly right. If one of these is missing, you don't need licensure. Okay. So one, is the person being paid? Oops, sorry. Number two, is the person working for somebody else? And number three, is the person being paid for doing something related to real estate? If all three of those things are present, then your answer is yes, they need a license. Okay. Don't try to make it more complex than that for right now. I'm going to be honest with you and say we are going to add some exceptions to the rule, but we're not going there yet. We are intentionally building this as a building block process. Okay. So for right now, only thing you need to ask yourself as we go through some of these examples is these three things. Is the person providing some type of a real estate service?
Right.
Is the person working for someone other than themselves? And are they receiving, not paying, but receiving compensation? If all three of those things are true, then that person needs to have a real estate license. So look at this scenario right here. We're going to work our way through some of these scenarios. It says Juliana finds out that her best friend is interested in purchasing a new home and puts her friend into contact with an active real estate broker named Jane in Greensboro, who will represent the friend in the purchase. Upon closing, Greensboro broker Jane sends Juliana a $200 Amazon gift card. Does this require licensure for Juliana? What do y'all think the answer is here? Does this require licensure for Juliana? What do we think?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It does. It absolutely does.
He's getting compensated.
Because if you look at it, all three things are present here, right? If we think about it like this, number one, is the person in question being paid a fee? Yeah, a $200 gift card, okay? Number two, is the person working for someone else? Well, it says Juliana finds out that her best friend, isn't her best friend somebody other than herself?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So, yeah, she's working for somebody other than herself. And is she providing some type of a real estate service? Well, she's, oops, sorry, went the wrong way. She's referring to a real estate agent. Is that a real estate service?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 3 yeses. What does that equal for licensure?
Yes.
Yes.
It's required.
Licensure required. Everybody okay with that answer?
Yep.
Okay, good. Good. You see how like working your way through that's going to be essential to make sure you get the right answer to these questions. All right, look at this one. Says Betsy Buyer is in the market to purchase a new house in Durham for herself and her family. She's decided that she will not be represented by a licensed buyer's agent, but wishes instead to be paid from the buyer agent or be paid the buyer agent commission on the house she is buying from Sam Seller. Does this require Betsy to be licensed?
No.
Work our way through this. Well, here's what I noticed. I noticed number one,
she wishes to be paid.
She is being paid. So we think about all three of these. Oops. Gotta think about all three of these. Is she being paid? That's a yes.
Yes.
Okay. But that doesn't mean she needs licensure. We got to have how many yeses for licensure?
All three.
All three. Is she working for someone else?
No.
No.
Right there, can we stop checking?
Yes.
Yes. No license required because she is working
For herself.
for her.
No, Betsy. Betsy knows how to do it.
So practical question, folks. Can any single one of you go out and buy a house today and be paid the buyer's agent commission legally?
Yes.
In North Carolina, you absolutely can. That is not true in all 50 states. This is where license law is very different state to state. There are some states where that would not be true, but North Carolina, you're allowed to work for yourself here. Okay, it's got to all three be yes for licensure to be required. So talk to me. How are we feeling thus far about applying that rule? How we feel at this point about applying that rule?
Great.
Good.
Pretty good.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So since we feel pretty good, I think it's probably good for us to take a lunch break. All right. We'll let you take lunch when you don't have indigestion. So before we broke for lunch, we were talking about the licensure rule. And we've not left that rule behind. We're still focused on the same rule here, folks. We're still talking about the rule that says that
You need a license.
if you are doing these things and all of these three things are true, then you need a real estate license. And if you're a person, you need a broker's license. If you're a company, you need what kind of a license for a company?
Firm.
And those three things are providing a real estate service of some type, providing that service for somebody other than other than themselves, and being paid. If all three of those things are true, then the licensure rule says you need a license. But as we mentioned before we broke for lunch, excuse me, every rule has exceptions, especially license law rules.
Right. And before you dive into that, I just want to do a quick reminder because this is the first day we are still in unit 1.1. It is slide 26.
Thank you. And so the Real Estate Commission realizes that their rules, there's often going to be people who, for whatever reason, the rules just don't make too much sense. Let me throw this question out there. Now, I do not want you to answer from the perspective of what you think it should be or what you've experienced. I want you to apply the rule. I'm going to give you a situation. I want you to apply the rule. Don't worry about the exceptions yet, but I want you just to apply the rule. Let's say that Brendan, who does not have a real estate license, Brendan does not have a real estate license because he's here in class with us, goes out and starts to work for another real estate broker. Maybe starts to work for Seth. Brendan is working for Seth, and Seth says, Brendan, I need you to go over and put a sign up in front of this new listing of ours. And while you're over there, I need you to go in the house and I need you to arrange some things. And I've got some flyers I want you to put out. And by the way, when you get back to the office, I've got the everything ready for the property to go into the MLS, and I want you to put it in the MLS for me. Everybody with me so far on this scenario here?
Yes.
That sounds a lot like an assistant, right? Doesn't that sound like an assistant?
Or a secretary or something like that, yeah.
Okay, and Zeta, you should be seeing the slides. You should be seeing the slides. I do have them shared. Is everybody seeing those?
Try that view in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so talk to me. In that scenario, if you apply just the license law rule, does Brendan need a real estate license just to be that assistant? Just apply the rule. I'm not asking you to apply exceptions. I'm not asking you to come up with a perfect answer. I'm just asking you to apply the rule.
Three-legged stool
So
rule.
Seth is paying him $100 a day to do this. He's going out and putting signs in front of listings. He's placing flyers. He's putting stuff in the MLS for Seth. So first question, is he providing real estate services of some type? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Yeah. Is he being compensated?
Yes.
Yes. And is he doing that for himself or is he doing it for others?
For others.
For others. So just based on the rule, does somebody need to have a real estate license even to be an assistant to a real estate broker?
Yes.
Yes.
They do. They do. But that's where the exceptions come in. And folks, that's the process you're going to have to work yourself through. If you get so
I just want to ask, if you're not speaking, please stay muted. It's there's a lot of feedback.
So
sorry.
Here, it doesn't matter how he's paid the way I asked that question, because you're trying so hard to get to a final answer. I want a final answer, that you're not answering the question I'm asking. If you just apply the rule, does the rule say anything about how somebody's paid, or does it say if you're paid, you're doing real estate services for others, you need a license? Which way is the rule written?
If you're going to get paid, you need a
If
license.
you're getting paid.
If you're getting paid. We didn't say anything about how you were being paid or how much or how frequently or anything. It says if you're being paid for doing real estate services for somebody else, you need a license. Under that circumstance, folks, Brendan would need a license to be an assistant to a real estate broker.
Looking from that three-legged stool rule.
If you just look at the rule, he needs a license. But we know that real estate brokers need to have assistants. So the question for the Real Estate Commission becomes, how can we create an exception? How can we basically recognize that sometimes real estate brokers do need help? And they probably don't want to have to hire people who also have what to be their assistant?
License.
They want to be able to hire an unlicensed person. Does everybody understand the need for an exception to the rule? Does that help? Because I think if you understand why we need to have an exception, then the exception itself makes more sense. Okay.
Right.
So the Real Estate Commission tried to figure out, okay, how do we have an exception? Because you can't just say, oh, a real estate broker's assistant is an exception. Well, then what is an assistant? You got to be more specific than that. So here's what the exception says. The exception says, and this is where Cher's question from earlier does come into play. The exception says if the person in question is paid with a W-2, if they are a salaried employee, those mean the same thing. Employees are paid on W-2s. Yep. People who get 1099s are not employees. Seth is not my employee. Seth is an independent.
Salary, so would that exclude hourly if they're a W-2 employee?
Great question. It does not exclude hourly. In the eyes of the Real Estate Commission and in the eyes of the Employment Commission in North Carolina, salaried and hourly mean the same thing. Cool. It simply means that your pay is W-2 based. You are an employee. You have a boss. You are not operating as an independent contractor. Somebody tells you where to show up, when to show up, how to show up, what work to do while you're there. And you're paid for showing up. Let me ask you a question. A real estate broker, do they mostly get paid when they're actually successful, or they just get paid for trying?
Successful.
When they're
Most of
successful.
the time.
Successful. But their assistants, do they get paid when they're successful, or they get paid for just showing up and trying?
Just showing up and trying.
Showing up and trying. They are W-2 employees. And the Real Estate Commission says that if you are a W-2 salaried employee of one of two people, either the owner of the real estate that you're doing the service on. So you can be the salaried employee of the owner of that piece of real estate, the piece of real estate you're working on. You can be a salaried employee and you are exempt from needing a license. Okay. Or you can be the salaried employee of a licensed real estate broker and be exempt from needing a license. I'm gonna say those two things again. You can be the salaried employee of either the owner of the property that you're providing the work on, that you're doing the service for, or you can be the salaried employee of a real estate broker who is working on that property. In either.
So number one, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Number one would be like you hiring somebody in this class as your employee to sell your house.
Correct. Number one would be anybody who owns a piece of property hiring somebody who doesn't have a real estate license and saying, help me sell this house. Help me lease this house. I want you to be my property manager. I want you to help me find a buyer for this property because I what? What's the relationship in number one? The person that's hiring you is the what of the real estate?
Owner.
The owner. Your boss is the owner. If your boss is the owner and you are their employee, you do not need a real estate license to work on that property. Is everybody okay with that statement?
So Travis, our earlier example about somebody being paid to go out and show homes for a broker, if they're getting a W-2 from that person, they don't need a license, right?
Well, based on what we've talked about thus far, that is true. But we're gonna dig deeper on that because there's gonna be some limitations on the tasks that this person can perform. This is not necessarily a blanket exemption. Okay, so
that is something that I wanted to harp on as well, because you can't just compartmentalize these and think they are exactly the same thing, because they are not. And some of them will allow you to do anything for your boss, and the other one you can only do a limited amount of things for your boss.
So here's what I would,
these two.
Here's what I would recommend. Whenever you're being asked if somebody needs a real estate license, first thing you got to do is the three-legged stool. Are they providing a real estate service? Are they being paid for it? And are they working for somebody other than themselves? Because if any of those is a no, does anything else matter? What do y'all think?
No.
No, it does not.
No, don't need a license. But if all three of those are yeses, then you have to go to this exemption. Does everybody understand that? You only look at the exemption if all three of the first three questions are what answer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, they're working for somebody else. Yes, they're providing a real estate service. Yes, they're being paid. Then are they exempt anyway? They're only exempt anyway if they are an employee. So you'd have to see some word like employee. You'd have to see like something like they're paid a salary, they're paid hourly. Any of that means an employee. W-2 means employee. And if they are an employee, there's only two people that they could work for and be exempt. What is the first group of people I could work for and be exempt from needing a license? So you all right now, could you go out and work for somebody today and do real estate services and be paid for it without a real estate license? Could you?
Yes, as long as it's the owner.
Owner of a company.
As long as you're working for number one, either the owner of the
real estate.
Hold on.
Or number two, who's the second person that you could work for?
Broker.
A real estate agent, somebody that has a broker's license. So could Seth hire any of you as his salaried employee? And
Yes.
Yes, and I need to, but oh God, yes. But anyways, I think I heard in the background the owner of a company.
Well,
I don't know if that would be the right answer, but
you'd be employed by the company. You'd be employed by the company. So that if the company owns the real estate and you're employed by the company, same thing.
Okay, cool
Will
deal.
the company need a real estate license?
Why would the company need a real estate license? Apply the same rule. You're trying to memorize things. You're just going, but what if, but what if, but what if? And you're not trying to answer the question first before you're throwing it at me. Is the company in your head, whoever just asked that question, so I don't even know who I'm yelling at, so don't take it personally. In your head, is the company being paid compensation for a real estate service? If the answer is no, then of course they don't need a license. You need a license to get what, folks?
Money, compensation.
Paid.
Get paid compensation for representing who?
Someone else. Buyer.
Someone other than yourself in a transaction. Well, if a company owns an apartment complex, does the company need a license to market its own apartment complex?
No.
No.
I guess this would almost be like receiving pay as long as you have a tax identification number. That might be a bad example.
I think you can, whatever makes it work for you, but honestly, it's not that complex of an idea. Folks.
No.
If you are being paid to provide a real estate service for someone, basically think of it this way. If your involvement in the transaction is only to help somebody, then you're doing the work for somebody else. If your involvement in the transaction is, well, that's my damn property, then you never need a license.
So that's like working for a builder?
I'm sorry?
For instance, working for a builder.
Look at there. Look at there, Rose, at you applying the rule. Here's what Rose just asked. Could you work for a builder and not have to have a real estate license? What do y'all think, folks?
Yes.
That's a great connection.
Yes. What a great connection, Rose. I agree with Seth. What a fantastic connection. Could any of you today go out and start selling houses for a builder without a real estate license?
Yes.
Yes. As long as they are willing to do what?
Hire them as a W-2.
Hire you as their employee.
So I just got a private message and I have got to put this person on blast as well. Does a transaction coordinator need a license?
So again, all of those what ifs go back to the same basic questions, right?
Are they doing real estate? Are they doing it for somebody else?
Are you doing it for somebody else? And are you being paid? If all of those are yes, then you need a license unless you are what? What's the exemption that we now know?
A salaried employee.
A W-2 salaried employee.
A salaried employee of either the owner of the property or the real estate broker, a licensed real estate broker. Now, salaried employee is the big key here. You have to be being paid a salary. You have to be, that can be hourly, that can be salaried, but what it can't be is success-based. Can someone who does not have a real estate license go out and sell houses for a builder and be paid $5,000 for every house they sell? No, because that's not a salary. Does everybody see the difference there?
Yes.
If you go work for a builder and you sell houses for them as their salaried employee, and they're paying you $50,000 a year, how much do you make when you sell 0 houses? $50,000. How much do you make when you sell 100 houses? $50,000. Because
no bonuses.
No bonuses, no anything like that. Because the real estate commission has another word for a bonus. Guess what they call it?
Commission.
Commission. And to be paid commissions, you always need what, folks?
A license.
A real estate license. Does everybody see the difference there?
Really good job.
Okay. So
why I'm here today.
Let's talk about these people who are exempt and what they can and cannot do. That depends on who you are the employee of. If you are employed by, you work directly for the owner of the real estate. So examples of these people would be, I work for a builder. If you work for the builder, doesn't the builder own the houses that you're selling for them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Another
Do you
example.
mind going back one slide for whenever you get a second?
Another example of somebody who works directly for a builder is a property manager at like an apartment complex, but their boss owns the apartment complex. Does that make sense for
Yes.
everybody? You're working
Yes.
directly for the owner of the property. Okay, did you
Yes.
get whatever you need to hear, Seth?
Yeah, all I was going to say is, so this next slide that we are on now are breaking these two things down. We're talking about what this person up here can do, number one, and what number two can do.
That's exactly
And that person who needs that.
exactly right. We're talking about number one, the people who work directly for the owner of the property. That person is completely unlimited in the tasks they can perform. So again, if your boss is the owner of the property, what can you do on behalf of your boss without needing a license?
Anything.
Everything.
Anything and everything. So if these people, so now, first off, you just learned something. When you walk into a new construction house, a model home, is there any guarantee that the person you're dealing with has a real estate license in North Carolina?
No.
No, there is no guarantee because they may be a salaried employee. And can that salaried employee who works for the builder, keeping in mind the builder is the owner of those properties that are being sold, can that salaried employee perform any and all functions that their boss tells them to?
Yes.
Yes.
Without needing to have what?
A license.
A license.
A real estate license. Does everybody understand that exemption?
Yes.
That's a good test question.
A good one. It's a good one.
That builder could also collect the commissions, correct?
That builder could do what?
Collect the commissions on the sale of those homes.
Collect commissions from whom?
Real estate commissions instead of having to pay a real estate broker.
Okay, well, but
He already owns the property.
here's
I understand that.
collect, and that's why I'm saying collecting commissions from whom? Is there some commission fairy that's dropping money along that I'm unaware of? Who normally pays commissions?
The seller.
The seller. Aren't they the seller?
Yep.
There's no-
I'm just referring to the question you asked at the beginning of the course.
I don't think you are though, Eddie. I think you feel like you're making a connection that's not there.
Okay.
There's no the builder seller. Yeah, if there was a commission, sure they could collect it. I'm just not sure where it would come from, because traditionally it would be the seller owner who would pay commissions. You know, that's where the chain of commission kind of starts. So I'm not sure in that case where they would. Could they? Sure, because they're representing.
Essentially, they would just be saving it by keeping it in their pocket.
A better way of looking at it is they're not paying a commission. That's exactly right. They're not paying a commission, which is why they might want to go this route rather than having licensed real estate brokers in that home, because they might.
I guess I said it incorrectly then. Yeah, that's what I meant. They're saving the commissions.
There you go. There you go. They're saving paying the commission. There you go. They're not paying it. That's exactly right. So look at this question. This is another poll everywhere question. Taylor is unlicensed but works as a salaried employee of Syntex Homes, who's building and developing a new subdivision that they own. Taylor's paid $75,000 annually for helping buyers choose lots and homes. So A, Taylor cannot assist buyers with these purchases without a real estate license. B, Taylor is free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner and can receive bonuses for good performance. C, Taylor is free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner so long as she does not receive any sort of bonuses. Or D, Syntex Homes would need to have its own real estate firm license in order to accomplish this goal. See what y'all think about that.
Looking consistent so far.
I like it. I like it. Taylor is free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner. She can work for Syntex in this manner as long as she's not paid any sort of bonuses for doing so. And obviously Syntex does not need to have a real estate license because they're not collecting any commissions here. There's no question about whether or not they need to have any type of a real estate license. Its question is whether or not Taylor needs to have a real estate license because she's the one that's being paid compensation here.
So it looks pretty consistent though. If anybody didn't get it, let us know. But I'm really glad if you guys all got it and maybe just didn't follow what everybody else was choosing.
Well, they told us this was going to be the smart group. This was the advanced group, right?
I got that memo.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought this was the So now let's talk about the other group of employees. The ones that don't work for the property owner, but work for a real estate broker who's providing services on the property. So this is
number
like
2.
This is that second group of employees. This is like degrees of separation. These people do not work for the owner. So this might be somebody who's there at that model home, except they were not employed by Syntex. They were employed by Seth, who's the real estate broker who represents Syntex. Does that make sense for everybody, the difference there?
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
For me.
They are not employed directly by the owner. They don't work for the owner. Their boss is not the owner. Their boss is a real estate broker who was hired by the owner. So there's like a degree of separation here between this employee and the owner. Before, who was the employee working for in our last example? Who did the employee answer to?
The owner.
The owner.
The owner
of the
builder.
property. Now, who does the employee answer to?
The
broker.
Real estate
Representing
broker.
Real estate broker. And folks, these questions are coming on the license exam. I want to guarantee you of this, because right here, this is where you got to know to tell your assistant, no, you can't do that. No. You're not allowed to do that, because the salaried employee of a real estate broker is limited in what they can do. What did we say the salaried employee of the owner could do?
Everything.
Anything and everything. No limits. So can the salaried employee of an owner negotiate a deal for that house, for that builder? If they work for the builder, they work directly for the owner, can they negotiate the deal?
Yes, they can.
They can.
Can they?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Yes.
Not being paid a commission.
Yes. If they are the salaried employee of
And
the
getting paid a
owner,
commission.
of the owner.
I mean, salary.
If they're the salaried employee of the owner, folks, they can do what?
Everything.
and everything.
Can they negotiate?
Yes.
Yes. Can they show property that's for lease or for sale or for?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because they can do what?
Everything.
Anything. But if they are employed not by the owner, but by the real estate broker, they have limitations. And
Listen closely.
you've got to know the differentiation there, because the test questions are going to center on not only are they an employee, but an employee of who? Who do they work for? Does everybody see that?
So if you're a normal broker and so is that coming out of your pocket to pay this guy?
They're your assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to have an assistant, then you've got to. Okay. So when you look at the salaried employee, W-2 salaried employee, they all mean the same thing, of a real estate broker, there are some things that the North Carolina Real Estate Commission will not allow a salaried employee to do. Now, there are lots of things that they can do. Look at the things on this list. These are things that they can do. Setting up appointments, staging, collecting money, arranging for repairs, showing rental properties. All of those things are allowed. As a matter of fact, I've given you 3 slides here of things that the salaried employee. So Josh asked, what is staging property? Staging property means setting
Putting
up, making
makeup
it
on
look
it.
pretty for buyers and tenants. It's basically decluttering, rearranging, sometimes removing furniture, sometimes bringing in different furniture. That's what staging refers to. It's not something we're going to learn how to do in this class or even talk about in this class, but it's an example of things that real estate brokers do to get things sold. I mean, trust me, folks, you don't know what you're in for until you go into some of these houses and people say, I want you to help me sell my house. And the first thing you want to say is, can we burn it down first?
Hey, Travis, I have a random question about that. If you as a broker also stage homes, can you charge a separate fee to stage a home?
Sure, you
Like
charge
separate
whatever
contract?
you want to.
Okay.
Sure you can. Okay. So all of these are examples of things that a salaried assistant can do. Place signs on the house, place lock boxes on the property, put the thing in the MLS, put in MLS. That is okay. That
They're not licensed.
Be done by somebody who's not licensed, who is the salaried employee of a real estate broker. Things like dealing with repairs, things like scheduling appointments, things like confirming appointments, even filling out paperwork like contracts. A salaried assistant, I mean, think about what the things you want your assistant to do. Aren't those exactly the kinds of things you want an assistant for? Fill out this paperwork. Here, put this in the MLS. Here, go take this sign and put it in front of the property. Here, go put this lockbox on the door. That's why you have an assistant. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah, do all this. I need to go show houses. Bye.
I have a question.
Okay.
Does that include inspections too?
If it's on this list, it's allowed. Okay, so just hold that question for a second, then I'm gonna let you answer it. Okay, I'm gonna let you answer your own question. Who asked me that? I missed who it was that asked that question. Who asked? It was Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. Sorry, I didn't look down fast enough. Hold on to that. All of these things can be done. Even look at this.
Yep.
Write commission checks. Be the bookkeeper. Manage the
That
office.
one blows my mind.
Manage the office trust account. Can an unlicensed person be in charge of the money in the office?
Yes.
As long as they're the what?
Salaried employee.
Salaried employee of a broker.
But now, here are the things that a salaried employee cannot do at all without having a real estate license. A salaried employee who works for a real estate broker is limited, and these are the things they cannot do. Anything that deals with negotiation. Now, be careful here. You got to be careful. Here's what you can't do. You can't say salaried employees can't negotiate. Can some salaried employees negotiate, folks?
If they have a real estate.
Yes.
Okay,
They're working for the
ones-
owner.
Obviously,
Yes.
ones that have a real estate license, but can some unlicensed salaried employees negotiate?
If they're working
Yes,
for the
the
owner.
one that works for the owner.
If they work for the owner, the ones that can't are the unlicensed salaried assistants that work for who?
Broker.
An owner.
Or a broker. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
An unlicensed salaried assistant who works for a broker or works for a real estate agent cannot create marketing without supervision. That means the agent, the broker that they work for has to be involved with that. And look at this one right here. This came up with Eddie earlier with his comment in there. And this also gets back to Jennifer's question. The salaried assistant of a real estate broker in the state of North Carolina, if they do not have a real estate license, cannot take potential buyers onto a property that is for what?
Sale.
For sale. Now I'm gonna back up for a second. can they take renters onto a property that is for rent?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't ask me why the Real Estate Commission made it that distinct. I don't know, but they did. The salaried assistant of a real estate broker who doesn't have a real estate license themselves cannot go on to property that is for sale with a buyer. So that's where, when Eddie asked his question earlier, he said his real estate broker was from Charlotte and they had somebody who was not licensed showing the property. Is that a violation?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, because those are properties that are for what?
Sale.
Sale.
But once the contract is under, or if it's under contract, then they could potentially take.
Still for sale. It's
Okay.
still for sale.
So
and that gets us to Jennifer's question. So Jennifer, I'm going to take your question. I'm going to go a little bit further. Jennifer said, what about inspections? I'm going to answer your question right now, Jennifer, but I'm going to say it depends. And here's what it depends on. Is the buyer at that inspection? Can a salaried assistant who works for a real estate broker, so let's say Seth has an assistant. Let's say Seth hired.
I'm throwing it in the chat because we used that one with Brendan earlier, and I thought this was great.
Okay, so Seth used the example in the chat. Says Brendan does not have a real estate license. He goes and works for another real estate broker, Seth. Seth tells Brendan to go put a sign in front of a new listing and tells him to go into a house and set up some information on the counter and add things to the MLS. Does Brendan need a real estate license? Assuming Brendan is a salaried W-2 employee, does Brendan need a real estate license for that?
Yes.
No.
Wait,
No. Assuming he's a W-2.
Assuming he's a W-2 employee, does he need a real estate license for that?
No.
No, because we went a step further.
No.
It's not for sale yet.
Because it's not for sale, and he's not taking who?
A buyer.
A buyer.
Potential
Don't focus so much on the property. Focus on who they're taking to the property. Who's the no-no here? Don't do what?
Don't show a buyer.
Don't
Potential
take
buyer.
buyers to the property. It doesn't matter if can Brendan go to a property that's for sale and put marketing material in it for Seth?
Yes.
Can Brendan go put a for sale sign up in front of that property?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Can Brendan hold an open house there on Saturday for Seth?
No.
Because who's coming to the open house?
Potential
Buyers.
Buyers are. So in Jennifer's question earlier,
That's considered a showing.
let's say Seth has put this property under contract to one of his buyer clients, and the inspection is scheduled for tomorrow, and Seth has class. So he tells his assistant, Brendan, why don't you go open the house for the inspector? The buyers aren't going to the inspection. Is that within the rules? Can Seth send Brendan, his salaried assistant, over there to open the house up for an inspection if the buyers are not going to be present? Yes. But if the buyers show up at that inspection, have we violated license law? Yes.
So if
Man,
they're
that would
under
suck.
contract, they're still considered a potential buyer.
That's exactly right, because they don't own it yet. They have not bought it yet.
Good question.
So
Flo
this
has her hand raised.
okay, this is a very narrow rule. Go ahead, Flo.
So I think I'm beginning to blur the lines a little bit. So we have unlicensed salaried assistants. What about, does this slide and the slide before that have any difference between if they're licensed but salaried?
Doesn't matter. If they're licensed, what can they do?
They can do more like that. Here, yeah.
Anything.
But okay. And it doesn't matter that they're salaried.
That's exactly right. If you're licensed, it doesn't matter how you're paid. This rule, remember what this is an exception to. This is an exception. These are people who are allowed to operate without having a what? Without having a license. So if you wanted to be a real estate broker and you didn't want to have to worry about ever being wrong and telling your assistant to do something for you, what kind of assistant should you look to hire?
Licensed assistant.
One who has a license. Now,
Or send them to get their license.
if Seth has somebody who has licensed, can he tell his assistant to go do anything at that point if they're licensed?
Yes.
Yes. They showed the property.
These barriers only exist for those people who are operating in this exception of, I don't have a real estate license, so I'm flying under the radar here. Does that help, Flo?
It does. It does. Thank you so much.
Travis, Brendan shows up with the inspector to inspect the house, not expecting the buyer to be there. And then the buyer does show up. How do they just politely excuse themselves?
It's exactly what they do. It's exactly- If that were to happen in the real world, the unlicensed person should lock the door, tell the buyer, I'm sorry, you can't be here. I can't be here with you. I got to call Seth and I'll see if I can get him on the phone. Maybe he can come meet you, but you can't be on this property without Seth here.
So you would tell the inspector, you can't continue the inspection because Seth's got to be there.
Well, no, you wouldn't tell the inspector that. The inspector can continue because
tell the buyer that.
You tell the buyer, I'm sorry, you got to leave. You can't be here because your agent's not here. I work for your agent, but your agent has to be here for you to be here.
Got it.
Okay?
Me. Nah.
So all these things specific to it being a broker that they're salaried by an unlicensed versus the owner and being salaried and unlicensed.
So these are specific restrictions for people who are unlicensed but working for a real estate broker.
Okay, so if they're for the owner, there would still be okay.
If you work for the owner, you can do anything. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So let's compare the situation, Robbie, because it's a great question.
Yes, I think so too.
Let's say that, and we'll just use you, Robbie, as an example. Let's say that Robbie works for MI Homes, builder, salaried employee, does not have a real estate license. Can Robbie be there at that inspection with that buyer as the salaried employee of the owner of the property?
Yes, he can.
Because the salaried employee of the owner has no restrictions.
Right.
It's only and let me tell you why this rule exists the way it does, folks. To prevent exactly what Eddie experienced when he bought his property. That is the exact reason for this rule. Because let me just throw this out there. If you could get a real estate license and then you could just like Uber style and pay $50 to somebody to go show 100 houses for you, would you ever actually go show a house yourself, or would you just pay somebody $50 to the door?
Pay someone else.
I'm gonna pay somebody.
And the real estate commission knows that. That's exactly why this is in there, to prevent that sort of thing. Okay, is everybody okay?
Just a quick side note. When I was first getting started, I actually offered to show other agents' properties, and I got a lot of experience that way.
Yeah, but you were licensed.
I was licensed,
Yeah,
so
licensed, you can do that, of course. Okay. So look at this question right here, and I think I got to activate it for you. Let me get it active here. Okay. So it says, Chandra works in a real estate brokerage office in Greensboro, though she is not licensed herself. She's paid $25 hourly to help the agents in the office. Which of the following can Chandra legally do as a salaried, unlicensed real estate assistant in North Carolina? A, Chandra can put new listings into the MLS as long as she's only uploading information given to her by the licensed agents or brokers. B, Chandra can hand out business cards with her boss on the card at the local county fair trying to get new clients. C, Chandra can design and create marketing and advertising materials without oversight from the agents or brokers. Or D, Chandra can hold the occasional open house for the office listings if the agents are too busy to do so. Which one of those four can Chandra legally do in North Carolina as an unlicensed salaried assistant who works for a real estate office?
Now, is the office a broker or an owner?
They would be a broker. When they say you're working for a real estate broker, they mean they're not, they're not going to be referred to as a real estate broker if they're hiring you to work for them on their own property. They're going to be an owner. They're going to be the seller. They're going to be, it's not, you're teasing that out too much. If they're a real estate firm, if they're a real estate office, they mean that you're working for them as a real estate broker.
Right. She's paid $25 an hour to help the agents in the office. So she's employed by some broker. Mad at two of y'all.
Okay. So I like A lot here. Chandra can put new listings into the MLS as long as she's only uploading information given to her by those people who have a real estate license. Let's talk about the problems with the other ones. B, this is called soliciting, folks. If you're handing out business cards, is Chandra handing out business cards for herself? Call Chandra and I'll help you sell your house, or is she handing out her boss's business cards?
Her bosses.
That's called soliciting. You can only solicit if you have a what?
License.
License.
You have a license. That's it. You can only solicit if you have a license. The problem with C, Sandra can design and create marketing and advertising materials without oversight, without supervision. She can design and create marketing materials, but who has to approve them? Who has to be basically saying, yes, that's okay, we can place that ad?
A licensed
broker.
The broker she works for. That's exactly right. And then D.
You guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Nope.
D said Chandra can hold the occasional open house for the office listings if the agents are too busy to do so. Can't do that because that would be showing properties that are for what?
Potential buyers.
For sale to potential buyers. Does everybody see the line in the sand there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
On that.
Travis,
Sorry,
quick question on something you
quick
just
question.
said. Go
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. My question was like, how is it soliciting if Chandra is handing out the business cards with her boss? She's not by herself. She's with her boss.
Again, it didn't say that though. It says with her boss on the card at the it's not. If she's there with her boss, that's fine. But if she's just there by herself, that's not cool.
Okay.
I don't think they would ask that way either. I might be wrong, but.
Eddie, did you have one?
Yeah, just to highlight something you just said. If the real estate broker or the firm owns the property, the ownership takes priority over the license.
Absolutely. And so that leads me into a great question. Great question there. This leads me into this. Which of these would be allowed if Chandra was working for the owner of the real estate that was being worked on?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them, because remember, if you are the salaried employee of the owner of the property, you are allowed to do
anything and everything.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, what I was gonna say real quick is you guys might want to get in a habit of taking screenshots of these. I tried to do that last class, but I don't think they got utilized as much. So if you do want them, just take a quick screenshot.
And I'll tell you folks, just as a reminder, we're still working on the first rule. Welcome to license law. This is rule number 1. And this is why
it is constantly the base.
This
of
is
everything.
The state specific section is such a bear, because it really is about taking, no matter what kind of situation they give you, and going back and applying the rule, working your way through the rule. Barbara said she had a technical question.
And real quick, before we did that, I just wanted to harp on that, so we have the one rule, 3-legged stool, we have the exceptions to those. And then what we did is just broke some of those exceptions down. Right. All right, Barbara.
So like I said, it's a technical question. On the create a marketing, if somebody started creating a marketing or advertisement material, whatever it is, and then you gave the approval at the end.
You got me to.
So basically you need the agent or the broker needs to approve the marketing and the advertisement, correct?
Before it goes to the public, exactly.
But it says create. So if the person creates from the get-go and then only gets the approval at the end, is the person in the wrong?
No, But it also says without oversight. Oversight means approval before it goes to the public. The Real Estate Commission doesn't care what you create. Let's be clear about that. They don't care what you create. You can create anything you want to as long as you don't publish it. But if you publishing it, a licensed real estate broker better have looked at it.
And that's just verbal, right? Just like you review it and then it's just a verbal,
Well,
like, okay, or.
Sure, but who is the Real Estate Commission again going to hold responsible for the content of that advertising? Are they going to hold the unlicensed person who created it, or are they going to hold the licensed person who employs them responsible if there's a problem with that advertisement?
License.
The licensed person. So it's really up to the licensed person. They're protecting their own license by making sure that they're okay with this marketing that's been created by this unlicensed person. It's fine to have a marketing company, but you better be looking over what they're doing because you're going to be held responsible for it. Okay.
Is that Julie who just asked?
So let me get this straight. A salaried employee of the owner of a firm does not have to have a license in order to do anything.
No, owner of a firm doesn't mean anything. Owner of the real estate, owner of the actual land that the service is being provided for. A salaried employee who works for a firm is a salaried employee of a broker.
Okay, so so you were saying of the real estate, not the firm. Okay.
Of the real estate, of the land, the owner of the land. If you're the salaried employee of the person who owns the land. Okay.
That helped. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked for that clarification.
Yes.
And yes, if you use the Poll Everywhere app, it does keep a history of previously answered questions in there. Just if FYI, you can use their app if you want to, rather than the texting thing.
That is awesome.
Okay. And it will keep the questions in there for you.
Awesome.
So look at this scenario here. We're going to go through some scenarios and see what you think. It says Teddy is an on-site employee of Blue Sky Builders who's paid $75,000 annually and routinely meets with potential buyers to show them homes, help them select floor plans, choose options, and prepare purchase agreements. Does Teddy need a North Carolina real estate license? What do we think? Does Teddy need
No.
North Carolina real estate license?
Oh, because the builder owns the property.
Okay. I agree with those that say no, he does not. And here's why. Teddy is an employee of the owner of the real estate. Who owns these homes that Teddy is showing and selling?
Blue Sky Builders.
Blue Sky Builders. Who does Teddy work for?
Blue Sky Builders.
Blue Sky Builders. Does that make sense for everybody? This is kind of what you were just asking, Julie. This is what the employee of the real estate owner or the property owner means. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
And so therefore, since Teddy is the salaried employee of the property owner, what can he do legally without a real estate license?
Anything.
Anything. No restrictions whatsoever. Do whatever he wants to. Are we all good on that?
Yes.
Okay, good. How about this one? Juanita works in a real estate office and is paid $25 hourly with a W-2. Her job consists of performing various tasks on behalf of the broker in charge and other brokers within the office. Regularly, the broker in charge hands her the file of a property and says, take my notes here and fill in this blank contract for the house on Main Street. What do y'all think? Does this require a real estate license for Juanita?
No.
He's working.
I agree. This is also a no. And the reason is Juanita is an employee. And who does she work for?
Broker.
Of a broker, and she's staying within the lines of what the employee can do, right?
Right.
So I agree. This is no license because she's not crossed that
She's
line.
in her lane.
Staying in her lane. That's exactly right. She's doing what we say that the assistant of a real estate broker can do.
She's not negotiating it. She's just filling it out.
Now she's just filling it out. She's saying, here, take my notes and fill the form out. Put this on the paper. It's administrative work, right?
Yep.
Work, Juanita.
look at this one. Does it require a license for Latoya in this case? Latoya is a salaried assistant of broker Steve who makes $500 weekly. Schedules and shows apartment units for rent to potential tenants in a building that Steve manages.
No.
No, she doesn't.
No.
Require a license.
No.
No.
Yes,
It's only for
yes,
rent,
because they're
it's not
for rent.
sale.
No.
They're
No.
for rent,
No.
not for sale.
Oh, that is so twisted.
No.
She
No,
can
because
show
it is
the
on
rental
properties.
ones.
For rent.
Only if they're buying.
It is okay. It is okay to show properties for rent as the employee of a real estate broker. Which properties is it not okay to show? Ones that are what?
For
So,
sale.
No.
Sale. So this is no license required. Employee of a broker who is staying in their lane.
Yes, ma'am. That's why you really got to compartmentalize these things, in my opinion.
Now, if we had gone back and if it said the schedules and shows units that are for sale, would Latoya need a real estate license?
Yes.
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 Yes, that would completely
Unless
change,
they're
that would
working
change
for
the
the
answer.
company.
Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
That would change the answer. But in this case, the way it was written, that's okay, still within the rules. How about this one? It says Jose's parents own a duplex. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with that terminology, a duplex is a single structure that has multiple units within it. In fact, two, not some unknown number, but 2 units. A triplex would be a structure that has 3 units. A quadruplex has 4. Anything past that is an apartment building. But 2 units within the same structure is called a duplex. So Jose's parents own a duplex, which is just a building with 2 units, with tenants occupying one of the units and Jose living in the other. Jose collects rent, manages tenant security deposits, handles small repairs, and generally cares for the property for his parents in exchange for living rent-free in his house. Does it require a license for Jose?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, rent free.
Yes, you
Rent
do.
free.
Can
Yes.
that be considered his
Yeah.
salary?
He's working for the owners, right?
It doesn't
Couldn't
matter.
Does
that-
it say?
Doesn't
All right,
matter.
we're gonna do a
if
routine
he's
mute.
working for the owners, folks. Do you see
Right.
anything about him being salaried or being an employee or being paid with a W-2?
No.
No.
Do not assume.
Does he need a
So I can't
license?
assume that his salary is the rent?
No, you can't assume
No.
his salary is the rent because you don't assume anything on these questions. It has to tell you he is a what?
Explicitly. A salaried employee.
Salaried employee.
He's an employee and it does not tell you. And since he is being compensated for doing work for somebody other than himself, and it doesn't say anything about him being salaried, what's the answer here?
Yes.
License is required.
License required.
So this is the kind of one that, well, first and foremost, all I wanted to really mention was my mind's in like 500 places. You have got to go with exactly what they tell you on these questions. And one way that they would tell you that he's a salaried employee is he's being paid hourly or W-2'd or things of that nature.
Well, let's be clear about what salary W-2 employee means. That means you're filing unemployment insurance on this person. That means you're doing federal tax withholding, FICA, Medicare, Social Security on this person. That means you have, like I said, unemployment insurance on this person. Do you think Jose's parents have all that on Jose?
No.
No. They just told him, hey, you live over there for free as long as you take care of the place for us. And as long as it's structured that way, does he need a license?
Yes.
Yes.
He does.
He does.
He does. He does. Okay. I got 2 more of these and then we'll take a quick restroom break. I got 2 more of these scenarios. Okay.
We'll do them.
Ingram, licensee. There's a word, licensee. That means Ingram has a what?
A license.
A license, okay? So licensee Ingram received a phone call from Carla, who's a potential buyer. No problem there. I'm licensed. I can get all the phone calls I want from buyers, okay? Carla saw a for sale sign on the front lawn of one of Ingram's listings. Ingram calls his assistant Chandler, who is paid $30 hourly on a W-2, and asks if Chandler could go meet the buyer and open the home for the buyer to check it out. Does Chandler need a license in order to perform this task?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Potential
Yes, because the
buyers.
buyer's coming.
Yes, I agree. Chandler needs a license because even though they are the salaried employee of a broker, they are showing what kind of property?
Sale.
For sale
They
property.
are showing for sale. And
Awesome
for
job.
sale always requires that assistant to have a what if they work for a real estate broker?
A license.
License.
Okay.
Sharon's got a question on that previous one when you get a moment.
Okay. Sharon said, question related to scenario 6. I have a friend who owns multiple properties and has rented them out and does all the maintenance required, and he doesn't have a real estate license. How is that possible? Well, you answered your own question there, Sharon. I want you to read what you posed to me. I have a friend who owns. I have a friend who owns. I have a friend who owns.
Got it.
If they're the owner, do they need a license?
No.
No, that is very different from scenario 6. Is Jose the owner of this property in scenario 6?
No.
His parents.
No, his parents are the owners.
So in that case, then I would have another question. For example, so my husband, his parents owns a few properties, and my husband manages them. He doesn't have a real estate license. So how is that possible?
Is he paid?
No.
Then you just answered your own question again. You said, how is it possible for him to manage properties for his parents without a real estate license? And I asked, what? Is he what?
If he
Paid.
He paid. You don't need a license if you're not what?
Paid.
Paid.
Not
See,
paid.
you're
Okay.
trying to memorize situations, Sharon, versus applying the rule. And if you keep doing that to yourself, you are going to spectacularly fail this test. I cannot, and I'm not trying to be mean by saying that. I'm just trying to ram
Straight
home
up.
for you. You can't memorize scenarios because
You
there's
are-
many of them.
You are being mean to these poor people already on day one.
God, what are you doing here?
How is that possible?
Leslie.
Can you give them a break?
Oh, what are you doing here?
How are you?
God.
How is your class today?
It's good. It's like riding a bike, going back to post licensing is like riding a bike. I picked up right where I left off.
Oh, that's good.
Then what are you doing here? We're
Because I
working.
miss you. Gosh, take a compliment when it comes your way. Stop complaining.
I'm happy.
I'm still trying to figure out how you showing up as a compliment to anything.
They said you weren't coming back till Wednesday, Leslie.
Yeah, I'm not coming back until Wednesday. I'm teaching a class, but my class is over at 2. So I'm like, it's day 1. I want to get to see these people, and then I'm gonna leave.
Well, we'll let you answer Jay's question. And what's up, Jay?
Had the question with Chandler correct, but I thought the reason that a license was required is because the buyers were going to be there.
That's exactly why. Because if buyers are going to be present at a property that's for sale, then whoever is showing them the property either has to have a real estate license or has to be the salaried employee of the owner of that property. In this case, they're not the salaried employee of the owner, they're the salaried employee of a real estate broker, and you can't show property that's for sale to buyers if you're the salaried employee of a real estate broker.
Okay, got it.
So it's funny you say that because I literally just got done with the class, and that's exactly what we were covering, this whole license requirements, 303 post licensing, which is license law. And one of the things that we like to make sure that we just drill it in your head, and it might help Sharon, it might help Jay, and some of you guys that may be wondering, always apply the 3-legged stool. Every single time you have a license requirement question, do not memorize the scenario. Do not say, well, ask yourself the 3 questions and only go to the exceptions when the answers to those 3 questions are yes, yes, yes. If the answer to one of those 3 questions is no, forget about it. You don't need a license.
You can stop working. That's exactly
Right.
right. Okay. So let's look at this kind of applied test question, and then we're going to take a quick restroom break, and we're going to do everybody's favorite thing, which is Kahoot, to kind of round out the day here. But I want you to take a look at this question before we take a restroom break here. It says, Drew is a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina who's managing an apartment complex and wants to run a promotion to help attract new tenants. Which of the following would not be allowable? Now, here's the first introduction to some test-taking strategy, folks. When you see one of these negative words, a negative word is always going to be in all what in a question?
All caps.
It's caps.
All caps. Always. They will always put it in all caps.
Let me say something real quick, Travis. This is going to be a test-taking skill that is going to blow your mind. Pay attention. You don't even have to know the damn material to answer the question if you apply this.
This seriously is life-changing right here, what I'm about to say.
Because
Because here's the game they want you to play. Let me tell you about the evil gnomes who write the test and the game they want you to play. They want you to sit there and play a game with yourself. Am I looking for the one that's true, or am I looking for the one that's not true? How many of you feel like you do that? You sit there and you go, wait a minute, are they looking for the true one? They looking for the not true one? They're not. No.
Every time.
Don't do that. Do not do that. Here's any negative word means. And by a negative word, I mean not, I mean except, I mean untrue, I mean, anything like that they put in all caps. All you're doing is now playing true false with all 4 answers.
Do we answer this in the poll, or is this just for on the screen?
I'm sorry?
It's kind of in the chat or
just for on the screen. This is not a poll anywhere. Okay.
Remember, somebody said earlier that they're a bad test taker. This is number 1.
This is number 1 test taking skill. You are looking for the one that is different. You're not looking for one that's true. You're not looking for one that's false. In any negative word question, you're looking for the one that is different. You're going to label each statement as true or false, and then you're going to choose the one that is what? Different. Don't say true, don't say false. You're going to label each one true or false, and then choose the one that is what?
Different.
Different. You're going to have 3 truths and 1 false, or 3 falses and 1 true, and the answer is always the one that's different. So let's look at A. A free month's rent given to any new tenants who sign a 1-year lease. Is that true or false? Is that okay or not? What do y'all think?
It's true.
It's okay.
That's okay. That's true. There's nothing wrong with giving a free month's rent to a new tenant, because even if you did pay them with a free month's rent, who are they representing?
Themselves.
Themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay. B, a free month's rent given to any current tenants who recommend a friend that signs a 1-year lease. True or false? You can do that.
That's false. You can't do that.
False, because you're giving people money for bringing somebody else. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes, it does.
Okay. C, a $50 gas gift card to any potential tenants who come to view an apartment on Saturday. Well, who are they being paid to bring? Themselves. So that's true. There's nothing wrong with that. D, 1 month's rent paid to any licensed real estate agent who produces a tenant that signs a 1-year lease. Well, here's the thing. They're licensed. Is it okay to pay people who are licensed?
Yes.
Yes, that's true. What's our answer here, folks?
B.
B. The one that is what?
Different.
Different than the rest.
Not false, not true.
That will work on any negatively worded question that you get. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. Take a quick 5-minute restroom break. And when you come back, I want you to be ready to play Kahoot. You're going to load up kahoot.it on your phone, and I'll have a PIN number up here on the screen that you're going to put in. I recommend you play on your phone, and I recommend you play on the browser on your phone.
Yes.
One time for the browser.
I hate the app.
Okay, so take like a 5-minute break, come back at 2:20, and we're gonna do a little Kahoot, okay?
Hey everybody, if your Kahoot is just kind of idle, sometimes it will log you out. So make sure you keep your phone screen on.
Exactly.
Whatever he said.
And real quick, before we get started, I did start a Google Doc for all those test taking strategies. I'll email it, but if you want to grab it too, I already added that negative one in there. I never figured out how to keep them organized. So I was like, I'm just going to create a doc.
And I know you talked about this earlier today, and I know I missed it, and I'm sorry, but guys, those of you that are taking the class here for the first time, Seth shares a lot of note-taking skills in the chat, and he sends his, I don't know if he's going to be doing the recaps for this class, but if he is, take advantage of those recaps. They really help you stay focused and kind of pick up on the little items that you might have missed, during the class, to kind of fill in the gaps. Please do not use his recaps as your only note-taking skill, but more of filling the gaps. It really helps you. So
yes,
he does
like
a lot of work for us on the back end. So we appreciate him for that.
I like that, fill in the gap. That's exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you've all gotten logged in or getting logged into Kahoot. If you have not already done so, go ahead and do that. And we will get to playing it here in just a second. Let's see what we got. Oh, there we go.
I was going to say that number looked really small. This is a large class, I will tell you. It is a big class. So you guys are in for a treat.
Crazy. They did really good today.
They did. I had a good day.
Good. You're gonna need it.
And just in case we forgot to mention this, the Kahoots count for 80% of your final grade. So
Yeah.
Don't listen to him.
Hey, can I change my nickname? I messed up there.
I think if you close it out and come back in, you can, but that's not a way to change it. And by the way, I'm selectively ignoring the comment up there that I think it was Praveen said that that Manic Monday was the best Prince song ever. What?
No.
What?
No, I'm not even a Prince fan, and that's not a thing.
It was a joke.
Okay.
I figured.
I mean, a lot of people don't even know that he wrote the song. So
Good old Prince. And I don't know why, Leslie, how are you not a Prince fan? We gotta address that in your life. That's just wrong.
I'm not, because I'm not from here. Hello.
Yeah, what, planet Earth? You're clearly not.
But that's not, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Prince is not a worldwide thing, okay?
Yes, Prince is a universal thing.
Yeah. Not in my world.
All right, here we go, folks. And make sure you're trying to answer on your phone, not tapping your computer screen until it breaks.
That has happened to some of us.
Wait, I thought he died.
I can't get on here.
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
Number one, Tom helps his brother get his home ready for sale by preparing some flyers. His brother gives Tom a $100 gift card. Red, Tom is not required to have a North Carolina real estate license. Blue, the brother must have a North Carolina real estate license. Gold, Tom must have a North Carolina real estate license. Or green, Tom only needs a license if the amount of compensation is much higher. About 10 seconds left. So most of you are in pretty good shape on here, but some of you we need to help out a little bit. Tom does need a real estate license here. Yes, I realize he's doing a favor for his brother. But what makes this a problem? The payment of the gift card. If Tom
Yeah, I
was
read it
doing
wrong.
this- if Tom was doing this out of the kindness of his heart, no problem. You know, don't worry about who's going to enforce this. Don't worry about if they're going to get caught. That's not what the question's asking. The question is simply asking, you know, can this happen? And it can't unless Tom has a real estate license. And so that eliminates the red choice. You know, Tom is not required to have a license. But then some of you got really hung up, and these are the ones I want to focus on. The blue answer, the brother must have a North Carolina real estate license. Remember, folks, payment of money never requires a real estate license. You don't have to have a license to pay someone. You have to have a license to what?
Get paid.
To get the money.
Right?
Get paid.
You have to have a
Good
license
job.
to get paid. Okay. And if you're having problems getting on Kahoot, don't worry about it. Just play along as if you were in there. Okay. Next. Number 2. Sally is purchasing a storage facility and wishes to be compensated for representing herself as a buyer's agent. Red. Sally must have a North Carolina real estate license to be paid commission. Blue. Sally does not need to be a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina in this case. Gold. Sally must be represented by a licensed North Carolina broker. Or green. Storage facilities would not be under the jurisdiction of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
By the way, Seth, did you use your little button today? I used mine.
But no, I've got to set it up. It's sitting on my desk, so I'll go grab it.
Use mine. Remind me, I have to tell you a shortcut to turn on.
Okay.
Make it work all the time.
2 seconds. Heard.
Good. Very good. Sally does not need to be a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina. I like it. I like it.
You guys are applying your stool.
Right. Representing herself right there. You know, she is representing herself. And when she's
Okay,
representing
wait a second.
herself, you-
First of all, I thought I had the answer wrong. I thought it was green because I was like, it's a storage facility. It's not under the jurisdiction. So, well, I got it right, but like, it's a storage facility.
Is
Like, I don't get it.
Storage facility located on land, or does it levitate in the sky?
I guess I'm just thinking like if I'm getting like one of those U-Haul storage units or whatever.
I don't care what you're thinking about. Again, is it located on land, or does it levitate in the sky?
Now I'm kind of curious, like if my house actually did levitate to the sky, like would I be exempt?
You might be. You might be. But for the rest of us that are dealing with stuff attached to the land, real estate, and it's a good question, Flo. It's a good point to bring it up. If it's attached to the land, it's under the jurisdiction of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, because literally the definition of real estate is land. That's what the definition of real estate is. Okay.
Only houses in Colorado levitate.
That's it. That's exactly right. And that's because the inhabitants have elevated them to a height that they can. And Sally does not need a license because she is representing herself in this sort of a transaction. Okay. All right.
That was an easy one.
Leslie just said you needed something. Oops, wrong button. Leslie said it needs to be harder.
No.
Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Mark.
Why won't it let me?
Because you're talking smack about me. That's what it is. That's
Mhm.
karma getting to you. See? I don't have
Amen.
to do anything. I just let life take care of it. Life takes care of it for me.
Just sit back.
I'm like just doing this to you. You may have to start over.
Why won't it let me go to the next question?
Are you on the presentation part?
Yeah.
Why is it talking to me?
Right.
Why is it doing that?
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
No.
My cats have just been laying in the sheets all day. I'm just like,
So
it must be nice.
so Sammy, my little chihuahua, she loves the sun. She loves to sunbathe, and she moves around the house based on the sun. So when I went to earlier for a quick break, she was downstairs by the front door, just getting all the sun from the front, and she was laying on the hard floor. So I brought her bed, and she just laid down and gave me the sweetest look, like, "Thank you, Mama. I needed this."
What a spoiled, rotten.
There we go. Got it to move. Number 3, Donnie resides in a golf community in Lumberton and routinely sends his golfing buddies to the real estate office there. Red, Donnie cannot recommend people as an unlicensed person. Blue, Donnie getting free golf lessons in exchange would violate North Carolina Real Estate Commission rule. Gold, Donnie must be licensed in order to provide any referrals. Or green, Donnie can get free golf for a year for each person he refers.
Ask yourself the 3 questions. I want to help him more, Travis.
I know.
Blink 5 times for red, 7 for yellow. They're like 1, 2.
Here's what I'm gonna say. The compensation question, ask yourself that question. Compensation question. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Donnie
can help him more.
Donnie getting free golf lessons in exchange would violate North Carolina Real Estate Commission rule. Some of you folks fell for the classic trap, and this is another test-taking moment here.
Yep.
This word right here is a problem. Any, all, must, those kinds of strong language words, delete them from your vocabulary for the remainder of this class. What's the first thing we taught you after we taught you this rule? The exceptions to the rule. You will almost never see test question answers in this class that say any, every, must, always. Well, because the answer is almost always, it depends.
And really, if you see something like that, Travis, to me, it's an easy way to rule that option out. It's like a gimme, right? Okay, it says any, all, none, I'm out. That's not even an option.
The language, it's coming in too hot, right? The language is coming in too hot. Here's the thing. Donnie must be licensed in order to provide any referrals. That's not true. He can provide all the referrals he wants as long as he's not what?
Getting paid.
Getting paid.
It's getting paid for referrals that causes the.
Oh, I'm sorry, my mic's on.
That's all right.
That's how we feel, Brendan. I know.
That's the way we feel too.
That's why I try to help you guys, and I said read the compensation part of the rule. Not getting compensated.
That's exactly right.
I think that would probably be a test taking strategy to eliminate those must words for
Yes.
sure.
Yes,
Strong
yes,
words.
yes.
It's a huge test taking strategy.
I'm gonna add it.
Okay. Uh-oh. How does it keep doing that?
You are messing up again.
I know it. It's just my Kahoot is not.
He's getting used to technology.
What type of
help
what
him.
type of license is required for an individual from Nevada who wants to sell vacant land for others charging a fee? Red, a broker license. Blue, a broker in charge license. Gold, a firm license. Or green, a limited non-resident commercial license. See, some of you like bopping to the Kahoot music, by the way. This is the jam. We're gonna release it.
Why can't I click it? A ringtone.
Oh, do it on your phone. Try refreshing the
Try to
page
get
as
out
well.
and come back, Marianne. Two more seconds. An easy one for you. Good.
Good. A broker license. Remember, there's only two types of you could eliminate these two over here, right? There's only two types. There's broker licenses and what?
Firm license.
And firm license. And if they're a person, they need a broker license. It doesn't matter that they're from Nevada. It just matters that they're doing real estate here. And so they need a broker license. Good. Number 5. Betty is a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina who wants her commission payments paid to Blue Sky LLC. She wants her commission payments paid to Blue Sky LLC, which is true. Red, Betty can do this with no further licensure requirements. Blue, Betty must become the broker in charge of Blue Sky LLC. Gold, this is not a possibility under North Carolina license law. Or green, Blue Sky LLC must have a real estate firm license.
In seconds. It's on my nap time.
Apparently. Very good. Blue Sky LLC is not a person. It is a what? It's a company. It's an entity, and therefore it needs a what kind of license?
Firm license.
Firm license.
Firm license. So Betty.
I just thought about Liz
Yep.
when I answered it.
Thought about me? Oh.
Yeah.
You gotta zone in on the fact that she wants commissions paid to a company, not to her. Well, that company needs a what?
License.
Firm license.
Firm license.
Does Betty also need a broker license?
Yes.
Wants to be compensated.
Yeah, right. Betty's also got to have a broker license, but the
It said
firm.
that in the question though, didn't it?
I'm sorry.
That was not in the question. No.
Right. It says Betty is a licensed real estate broker, so she already has her broker's license, right? And the answer choice there was Betty can do this with no further license requirement. Well, she can't because that LLC also needs a license. Okay. And we have not talked about broker in charge requirements yet, so that's why you could eliminate that one. We haven't even talked about it yet.
Can I do that on the test? Just kidding.
Number 6, Casey is an employee of Dan Ryan Builders and is paid for showing their homes and helping buyers with purchases. Red, an unlicensed Casey can receive bonuses based on how many homes she sells. Blue, Casey's status as an employee requires her to be licensed in North Carolina. Gold, Casey would not be able to assist buyers with contracts if unlicensed. Or green, Casey does not need to have a North Carolina license so long as she is salaried or hourly. Fifteen seconds.
Christina, that's fine. I got your message.
Very good. She does not need to have a North Carolina license so long as she is salaried or hourly. And specifically, who would she be working for here? Who does it say she works for?
The company.
Owner.
The owner.
Owner.
Owner of the real estate. So what service can she provide for that owner? Any services. There's no limitation on her services there. Very good. Very good. I'm telling you, these are not necessarily easy questions. Bonnie is the salaried employee of Bob the broker. She's asked to enter a listing into the multiple listing service. Red, Bonnie can perform this act without being licensed in North Carolina. Blue, Bonnie must first pass the pre-licensing course to be able to do this. Gold, Bob will be held responsible for this license law violation. Or green, Bonnie can share in the commission collected on this transaction.
Oh my God. The Amazon guy just delivered something to my house and he's literally playing basketball in my driveway. That is the cutest thing ever. I love it.
By himself?
Yeah, shooting some hoops and just left.
You're sure it's not your package he's trying to make the hoops with?
I don't
That's
know.
hilarious.
I did hear the ball bouncing, so that's a good thing. I love that.
Like, let me just shoot some hoops real quick.
Exactly.
Nice job, guys.
He's got to work on his jump shot.
Right.
Red, Bonnie can perform this act without being licensed in North Carolina. That is correct. That is one of the acts you can perform as an unlicensed assistant. Those of you that said blue, folks, passing the pre-licensing course doesn't get you anything. You're still unlicensed. Okay? So that's sort of kind of a mean
test.
Gold, Bob will be held responsible for this license law violation. Well, if there was a license law violation, Bob would be held responsible for it, but there's not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this situation here. So the best answer here is the red one. Okay. All right, number 8. Sandy is managing apartments and wishes to design a promotion to help with her vacancy levels, which is not true. So use your true false here and choose the one that's different. Got plenty of time, 90 seconds. Okay. Red, Sandy can give gas gift cards to anyone coming to look at units. Blue, Sandy can offer 1 month free rent to any new tenant who's trying to leave. Gold, Sandy can lower rent on all units rented. Or green, Sandy can offer current tenants 1 month of free rent if they bring a friend.
Oh, the stress to answer quickly.
It happens.
The music is very pensive.
Right. It's intense.
Very like
Very.
I'm gonna be fighting Darth Vader.
You get Darth Sith if you do it.
Here we go.
Some mixed reviews here, but still pretty good. Sandy can offer current tenants 1 month of free rent if they bring a friend is not true. And it's again, when you see that right there, here's your clue right here. That all caps negative word. What do we say negative words always mean you're going to do with each one of the 4 answer choices?
True or false?
True or false?
And you
Choose the different
eliminate the
one.
negative
and choose
or-
the one that is different than the
Different.
other, right? Okay, so red, Sandy can give gas gift cards to anyone coming to look at units. That's true because they're bringing themselves. Blue, Sandy can offer 1 month of free rent to any new tenant who signs a lease. That's true because they're signing the lease themselves.
Helps.
Gold, Sandy can lower the rent on all units rented this weekend. That's true because the people paying the rent are getting the benefit themselves. They're not getting a benefit. They're not getting their rent lowered because they brought somebody else. They brought themselves.
Right.
But then the green one, Sandy can offer current tenants 1 month of free rent if they bring a friend. Are they now representing themselves or are they bringing somebody else to the party?
Somebody else.
Somebody else.
When you start bringing somebody else, you need a what?
A
A
license.
license.
License. And that's why that's the different one. And that's why that's the correct answer here. Are we all okay on that?
Yes.
Sounds good. Easy peasy.
Okay.
Lemon squeezy.
Squeezy. Jinx.
Jinx.
I owe you a lemonade.
As long as you owe me, I'll never be broke or thirsty at this point.
Yeah. Or sober.
Number 9,
Touché.
the following requires licensure from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. Red, a corporation who buys and sells real estate for profit in North Carolina. Blue, a partnership of 2 people who own property together and rent it out. Gold, an LLC which manages property for homeowners and charges a 10% fee. Or green, a home purchaser who's buying a home and being paid a buyer's commission, which requires licensure.
Remember your tool.
Oh my God, that sounded so good. It sounded like a remix. It was like, remember your tool. It went with the music.
It must be close to 3 o'clock because Chunky Boy has come in here and reminded me it's time.
Oh.
I thought you were talking about me at first. I was like, I am not junky.
We need to talk about this one a little bit, folks. In fact, we need to talk about this one quite a bit. It says a corporation who buys and sells real estate for profit in North Carolina. Well, folks, if they're buying and selling for a profit, who owns the property that they're buying and selling?
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Corporation.
The corporation does. And if a corporation is buying and selling property for itself, does it need a license?
No.
Nope.
No. So we got no license needed for the red one because they're buying and selling property for themselves. Now, I've had people say, well, how do you know that? Well, that's what for profit means. You can only make a profit if you are the owner. Okay, so you need to start to make connections like that in the context of things. The blue one, okay, partnership of 2 people who own property together and rent it out. Okay, they're working for themselves, so no license. Let's look at the green one. A home purchaser who's buying a home and being paid a buyer commission. Again, who would this home purchaser be representing?
Themselves.
Themselves. They are the purchaser. So if they're representing themselves, there is no license. Folks, they're not going to point out, they're not going to say in the question representing themselves. You've got to piece together that if somebody's buying a house and being paid the buyer's commission, they are representing who? Themselves. But then look at the gold one. An LLC which manages property for homeowners. So it's managing property for somebody else and being paid a fee for it. That requires a license. And specifically, what kind of license would this be since it says it's an LLC?
Firm.
This would be a
firm.
firm license.
So I
But-
do want to say something. I saw Timothy's comment about, sliding down the wall. I know it's figure speech, but maybe this will help you feel a little better. These questions, Travis really works hard on making your life hell during these questions, and it's intentional. And it's not because he wants to be mean. It's because he wants to make sure that you can nitpick every little word, every little side slap that they're about to throw you, because if you can be successful during these questions, then the test will be a walk in the park for you. So there's
It's about finding your weak spots, right? It's about finding those blind spots that you don't realize are there now while you're in here.
Right.
Travis, what's the difference between managing the property for the homeowner and what we mentioned about if you're working for the owner that you can do anything?
So
It's an LLC.
the difference is, are you the employee? And an LLC can't be an employee. You can't employ an LLC. An employee is a human being. And so what we were talking about earlier, Robbie, is a person, a human that has been hired as a salaried employee of that property owner.
I got you.
Yep. The other thing that would tell you that doesn't apply here is how are they being paid? Are they salaried here in the school choice, or are they being paid a commission?
Commission.
Being paid a commission.
That's another way to give
That's
this one
what
away.
got me is profit.
Yeah. So profit is only something that the owners can participate in. So a corporation who buys and sells real estate for profit, that means they're buying and selling real estate for themselves. Because if you're buying and selling real estate for other people, you don't partake of the profit. You just get paid a fee. It's their job to figure out if they made a profit on it, because they're the owner.
You can only make a profit on a property when you're the one investing in the property.
That's right. You can only take a loss. Profit and loss are ownership words. You can only make a profit. You can only have a loss on property that you own.
So if it said for a commission, it would probably be, that would be the correct answer, right?
Right, correct. If it said for a commission, then that would require a license. That's exactly right. If the corporation who buys and sells real estate for commission in North Carolina would be a different thing. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Okay.
Can I please say the home purchaser put me in the mindset of, like I'm sending somebody out to purchase to purchase a home for me.
Into it.
Like a personal shopper.
Dang, you're fancy.
Look at you.
Yeah, look at you. We're awfully fancy, but no, we actually mean the purchaser. This is a do-it-yourself.
Like, what is it? Instacart?
Exactly. Exactly.
Go out there and get me a home and don't come back
All
until you
right,
do.
well, let's see who won today. Who is our winner? Gabby got 8